2023.
Yeah, we didn't really promote this one. Oh, man. I'm in love with these beers right now.
Dude, I haven't had a Guinness in years.
It's the only thing I've been able to drink slow on the podcast and not, like...
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like...
I'm a beer drinker in conversations, like, where I get wrapped up in a conversation... And then I don't think about drinking. I'm just doing like it's almost like I need to shut the fuck up and let this guy talk for a minute. So I'm gonna drink while it's happening and you know go from there. I was gonna go sober this year, but I'm gonna wait till next year.
All right. Next year, like 2023 or 2024?
24.
Probably 4.
There you go.
Yeah. So we going?
Mm-hmm.
All righty, guys. So. First, it was good to have you back in Texas, sir.
What's up? Call me off guard. I was getting nervous with these. You're back at the house.
Yeah. Well, let me take, you won't know you're on it. Just
I didn't even know that was there.
Yeah.
Now you know the camera's there.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you came in. It was last minute. Obviously, there's a little shindig going on this weekend at Cowboy Harley Davidson.
Yes, sir.
All circled around. Would you call it education for racing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's an introduction, education seminar.
What is it teaching though? Like what type of like how to get into racing in general, or more technique of riding?
Watching who the riders are. We are handing out a book called The Twist of the Wrist.
Yep, Twist of the Wrist by Keith Code.
That is Mr. Paul from Lyndal's Bible.
Yes,
Correct.
100%.
Absolutely. I think he had first 20 signed up that day, received the book. Eric Stahl's coming in, Cody Melton, Moose is coming down with Cody's new bike. You're coming down. Who else? Twisted Industry.
Yep.
I'm going to forget some. We got a ton of giveaways. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good. I think really what we'd like to do is conquer the hog chapter, right? These are guys who ride, and they're constantly in the dealerships. If we could get the hog chapter involved and understand what these races are, everybody knows what NASCAR is.
Yeah.
Everybody has a favorite number and a favorite driver, right? Mm-hmm. This is the way to really put it in dealerships and say, hey, look, this is what's on TV. This is what you're watching, who these guys are, what teams they're racing for, so on and so forth. So Paul's got a great concept with all this. Mm-hmm. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good introduction. And if we could pull this off and put it in other dealerships for other races throughout the year, all it's going to do is help spread the love for the race and obviously boost it, right? And with King of Baggers and BRL, what better way than to bring the racers out and shake hands, right?
Yeah, yeah.
These are the guys you're watching.
And, I mean, you said their bikes will be out there, so people will get to see kind of the intricacies. That's a big hard thing to say. The intricacies of how some of these bikes are set up to be on a track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll have a Sportster out there. We'll have a Softail, I believe a Pan Am, Bagger. I think we got it all covered. Mm-hmm. I want to say 6 or 7 bikes total.
What's your race bike going to be there?
Yes, I'm on a Softail. 21 Lowrider S.
Yeah.
A lot of changes to it, obviously, to put it on the track. The other cool thing about what we're doing is, like, I don't expect a lot of these hog chapter guys to go out and start racing, but there's so much that you can learn from the experiences on the track and from that book that carry over to everyday riding. And I mean, it's crazy just the way that so much of that transfers back to the road.
Oh, 100%. I remember we went down a rabbit hole, my brother and I, a long time ago after talking to Paul when he came and did, like, episode 3, I think.
Yeah.
We were talking about that on the Patreon episode. Just about, like, trail braking and all those type of concepts of how to actually properly get in and out of these corners and whatnot. And it's interesting. It helps you out on the road, you know what I mean? Paul's always had this, and I've always admired it. It's like, I guess it's not as glamorous to tune the rider as it is to tune the bike because the bike gets you Instagram likes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gets you cool guy points in the parking lot at the bike shows and bike nights and stuff, right? But just being a better rider, like, it's almost like people don't really get to see that. Yeah. You know, unless, like, I mean, because if you're half decent, the other guys aren't going to be able to keep up anyway. They're going to see you carving these corners.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. It's always been a strange concept, but when you find yourself in a place that has some gnarly roads, you just, like, challenge yourself a little bit. But you also, like me, I do it, but I also try to keep it within reason because I know that I'm not that talented or that skilled in certain things to be able to like blindly just take these corners and assume that that I know it, right?
Well, and there's a big difference between being on the track, being in a leather suit,
Yeah.
knowing that you don't have soccer moms and dogs and all those other variables.
Gravel,
gravel coming out as you go around a corner, and it just gives you so much more confidence in what you're doing. Like that's completely changed the way that I ride on the road, is actually being on the track. And I mean, I think about well, shit, yeah, like I don't know what's around this corner, and I feel like I'm a much more aware rider. Just because of that. But
on the track as well, like they have markers for everything. So apex, kind of like braking zones and things like that, right?
Yeah, the way that they line those, like the little checkered stripe thing on the side, like that bumper that's there.
Yeah.
Like it's designed so that you kind of touch each of those.
Yeah.
And it helps you kind of actually plan out your lines. But you can still sometimes screw that up and go off the track, which ask me how I know. But
Well, it's definitely like I remember watching the first King of the Baggers race. I think we were all here in the studio. We streamed it up here, and it was pretty gnarly to watch that. I mean, it seems like, and this is just my ignorant perspective on it. It seems like the hype is kind of plateaued, if you will, and I don't mean to say it in a bad way. And I'm not trying to discount anything, but I know that BRL had made some decisions to not promote or not do it live anymore and put it out later, which definitely had to hurt some of the.
I don't think it's helping. I'll say that it's definitely not helping the cause.
Yeah,
I think that's been a little I love BRL.
Mm-hmm.
I've had tons of I wouldn't have raced Moto America in Super Hooligan if I hadn't gotten the experience with BRL. It kind of feels like a little bit of like the minor leagues to kind of give you that opportunity to just get out there. Like BRL, you can just show up on a Friday,
get a license over the weekend,
get your license, and then go race. Like Steve Chamberlain.
Yeah.
When he did that first Utah, I mean, he just rolled in, did that class, and then went out there and got sixth, I think, that first time out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the opportunity that you have there. But, yeah, I think the marketing and I know that stuff's expensive. Like, I'm not trying to downplay that, but
it lends itself to a lot more privateer style.
Yes.
Like
yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what we were talking about before we went live. It's like, for things to work, you have to almost commit to like a 3-year program of complete marketing, promoting, and whatnot. Because if you think about it, man, like you're asking people to spend thousands of dollars building a proper race bike to come out there. And if you as the promoters can't provide the coverage needed for those racers to get the exposure needed to grow the whole thing, it's like it's kind of a very symbiotic situation where both got to come together and trust each other's going to do their job, right?
Our shoulders get real tired if it's not done correctly, because they might be losing money, but they're not losing the same amount of money because the racers are traveling all over, and we're picking up some of that. So it needs to be that way. I
100% don't think that they're it might not be direct money from like we made. We did this show and we made money this way, but the whole concept is like it's still promoting back, and maybe not so much King of the Baggers because they are just a promotion company that puts on these events all over the country, but BRL is owned by Drag Specialties, so it all goes back into that whole cycle of that. You know what I mean?
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
How do you keep everybody healthy?
Yeah,
and you're right. You have to give the exposure. Right. It's the same thing like I'm saying for Saturday. You get to meet these guys now, right? Yeah. That's one step in the right direction. You see it at King of Baggers too. You see the lopsidedness of, you got Harley, you got Indian, you got Vance and Hines, you got Roland. You see these giant setups.
Yeah.
And then a little bit down the row, you got a 10x10, a 10x10, a 10x10, a 10x10.
Yeah, exactly.
And, these are guys that are privateer racers, have a couple little sponsors that are trying to get out there and get after it. And, I watched 21 King of Baggers. I think I watched Harley flip the Wyman Brothers motors because they were geared better if they were just flipped instead of, switching bikes or whatever.
Yeah.
Where down the row, we have 3 guys from House, Eric Stahl, on a bike we put together on Tuesday. Trying to get out there.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you overcome that to have that even that league take it to the next level. At some point, don't you think the bigger teams have to absorb the riders to make it fair, right? At some point, but
Well, I think the way it's going to work is that when it proves to be a good place to market, then more companies will come in to start sponsoring things. I mean, we live in an ad-based or a advertising-based economy, right? Everything is based on advertising. Races, bike shows, all this shit, content creators, it's all about advertising, right? So if there's more advertising opportunities because there's more coverage, there's more attention in the bagger racing league, then you're going to get more companies willing to put money in there, which is going to rise all the ships in that on that dock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so you gotta figure out how to rise them all. You know, granted, you're gonna have the big teams that have checkbooks that don't end.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Harley took a whole. I want to say the first year there was employees working on the race team.
Yeah, I remember that.
The second year, the race team was a position.
Yeah.
So, just shows you their move in it. They're like, no, we're in. Here you go. Yeah. Here's a checkbook. Get after it. And obviously Indian and Roland, Vance and Hines, they're out there to get it. It's man. There's so many people out to see these things doing 120, 140 miles an hour.
So
100, like a bag. I don't even know.
165, 170.
You just hear it go by.
They've hit those speeds.
Yeah.
So
what's top 160?
I think at Daytona, I want to say the baggers were getting up around 165, 170.
It's crazy.
So don't quote me on that, but I know it was up around that.
Yeah. So well, how did so King of the Baggers announced all their races for next year so far, like all the tracks.
Yes.
So where are they going next year?
Okay, so King of the Baggers and Super Hooligan, they have a similar schedule. But I think King of the Baggers is like 4. Can you hear him?
Yeah.
Okay. I got this obnoxious voice that just carries.
Purposely listening. He sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to scoot over. You can keep going over there. You're gonna be off camera. Fucking rookies.
I've done 2, but they were never on camera.
It's my first podcast. But starting in Daytona, I know. Shoot, I can't remember the full schedule. I know it's Daytona. I think they're going to be at Atlanta again. They're going to be running
Wisconsin.
Yeah, they're running Road America.
Pittsburgh.
Are they doing Pittsburgh or is that BRL?
I got that shit right here.
I know they're ending the season at Coda.
Nice. Yeah.
And Super Hooligan is doing Daytona and then the Ridge up in Washington. Laguna Seca in July for King of the Baggers and for Super Hooligan. And then Super Hooligan's going to be ending at Coda. I'm really excited to run.
It's going to be nice to have that kind of energy. In Austin, basically.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
So
it is Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Wisconsin, Washington.
It's Alabama, Barber.
Yeah, that's Barber.
For the guy listening to this that doesn't know anything from anything, what's CODA?
Okay, so CODA is Circuit of the Americas.
So it's the track in Austin.
Oh yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah,
Explain to the guy listening that has no idea.
Beautiful track. It's got like 17 turns. I mean, it's gnarly track.
Yeah. I watched the first year MotoGP came there. I went and watched that.
Yeah, and I haven't actually gone there to watch any of that yet, but I know Ride Smart is a company that does like track introduction stuff, and they're in Texas, and that's what got me on the track for the first time. But they just did a weekend at CODA. Like Dylan was out on his Pan America, and he's out there slamming on all these sport bike riders.
Yeah.
Like doing power wheelies, going down a hill, like passing guys. Like it's pretty cool what some of these guys are doing. But
yeah, because they do it up here. They got Crescent up here, Motorsport Ranch, and man, I was this close to pulling the trigger on doing it all, and then I just got busy, man. I just couldn't kind of carve out the time to go there because I really wanted to, and I was kind of worried that I would get addicted to it.
You will. You're absolutely right. Like,
and I have an addictive personality to certain things, so it's like if I go play golf once, I'm at the driving range on Monday. Yeah. And then I'm buying new clubs on Wednesday, and then I'm fucking playing golf 3 times before I go play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And it's also it would make me a better rider 100%. But, like I was telling you earlier, it's hard to – if you only have one motorcycle, and that's when I go across the country to do podcasts and all this other shit on, it's like just can't risk sliding it down a fucking corner one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but it's wild, man. I've enjoyed watching the progression. Like I said, I haven't caught the last couple of races just because of the coverage of it didn't feel like it was there.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to watch the Moto America ones anymore.
There's a website we always streamed it from.
They have an app
package
too.
deal.
Like
Yeah.
I think it might be like
Say we
$14.99 or
always went through
something.
their site that linked us
Yeah.
to.
Oh
the site.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
put
Because
on a dealership.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Because there's like their website, and you can kind of like pay like a
There's a
subscription
subscription. Yeah,
situation.
it is.
Yeah.
But that's even in the Milwaukee race. It was during the rally, and it just didn't have the buzz that I felt it should have. Right.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah, Steve was pretty bummed at like a lot of. I mean, I talked to him, and he was just kind of like, man, it just didn't feel like. I mean, it was a cool track, a good vibe, and there was just nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
it's just so much going on at once.
Yeah.
If you could build you put a race in the middle of a rally, you could almost build a rally around a race.
Yes.
Two different things,
Yeah.
right?
I agree
So
to that 100%.
that's exactly
yeah.
what happened. Was this rally goes on, and granted, it's not huge in between the anniversary years, but it's still a big rally.
Yeah.
You dropped, and it wasn't far, but you dropped that last minute where you have the museum rocking, every dealership rocking, ride to ride. And if you do it the other way around, you make that the center of the attention.
Yeah.
Then you have something to work with.
I mean, that's how rallies started in general, like
Yeah.
around the race, and it
Yep.
kind of, the race aspect kind of got lost in a lot of it. But no, that's a great fucking point because people always ask me like, hey, when you go to these events, why don't you do podcasts there? I was like, because people are not here, like they think they want to do a podcast there, but then when it's time to do the podcast, they got two buddies at One Eyed Penguin or One Eyed Jacks, wherever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then they got two buddies going down that are about to go rip here, and so like they're just pulled in so many directions
Yeah, you're not focused.
that even if they do commit to it, they're not focused on the conversation, and you just don't get the best version of a conversation out of someone that's pulled in 100 directions.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
anything,
You know what I mean?
You want media, anything like that at a rally, you do quick interviews and keep it moving.
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
not, that's the only way to get it. You got 2 minutes to get someone.
You might catch a good, like if you're hanging out at someone's house late at night, you're all hammered, you're like, that was a great conversation, and it's like, it's on.
There's interviews and then there's viral videos. That's about where they get at that point. But
Yeah.
that's it's growing. I really hope BRL changes something, shifts gears a little bit, gets some coverage.
Yeah.
Right? I'm watching them.
They need to market it, man. That's all it needs to. It needs to be, they need to have, just like Harley put a full position people to run the race team. BRL has to put a full team if they don't already. I'm sure they have something, but they need a full marketing team, social media team. They need to have someone going into these these racers, these because the underdogs, right? The Steve Chamberlains and the Black Charlottes, and these guys are the underdogs in the race against a dealership or a fucking
Corporate.
corporate stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's how you create a buzz. You create characters.
Yes.
Right?
It's finding fans.
Yeah.
That's how you actually build something like this, is that you have to build up the individuals, especially the privateers, and create a fan base. And then you get the people that are buying the t-shirts and and that's how you do that.
Because
They sell
they're
t-shirts?
they're promoting.
Some of these Steve,
No, I mean, I know the racers
honestly,
do, but like
a lot of the
BRL.
racers do, and BRL has like BRL t-shirts, but it's not building from within with the actual individuals that are
racers,
out there
yeah.
on the bikes.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if they want to hit me up, I'll give them a bunch of pointers. I won't charge them that much.
I rocked it today.
Hell
Yeah.
Keep the fuck up, baby.
It's
With what y'all were saying earlier about the event on Saturday, is that kind of why you're going after the hog crowd? Because
your
that is
hog
a
is your
good,
core of a dealership.
yeah, but it's a demographic that spends money that obviously has the interest, and a lot of times they're hanging at the dealership because
Yeah.
they don't really have much more than a ride around the local lake and a trip at Brahms, and this is something. Is this
I know,
something?
I mean, it's true.
Yeah,
though.
it-
You're
The
right.
local lake is a perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No, I mean, that's accurate.
This is something that some of these people they're just floating around. They don't even know it exists, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden they could buy into it. A la somewhat NASCAR fans who are just known for being
Fair enough,
just
yeah.
rabid and
So-
super faithful.
In that thought process, right, every dealership has a hog chapter, right? And if we really want to spread it across the country and really turn the attention of all customers, but this is a perfect way. Every dealership has a hog meeting. So whether it's a big event like we're doing tomorrow, or it's just talking to a hog chapter on their meeting night about this racing. It's an easy, I don't want to say sell for a dealership, but that's the core base. And then you build off of it, right? And Paul's hopes are to be able to get a lot of these chapters in the areas of the racetracks that are involved in this, a lap around that track the week of the race.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it might be. However we could do it to just keep the dealerships as a whole involved. Is it where we're queuing in on? No.
No, but if a guy with a street glide that sees an exhaust or an air filter he likes that he thinks may help him,
I would say
we can help you with that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
Well,
or a set of brakes, rotors, wheels,
Yep.
I would look at it like this. It's almost like you need to create fans.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because that's how anything. I mean,
that's how everything, anything like this.
So if you create fan, even if these guys in the hog chapter, it might be, hey, let's go check out this race. This will be fun to watch. You know what I mean? I don't want to race.
Right. I don't think I'm going to turn any of these guys into racers.
Yeah.
But every chapter has, there's some riders, especially in Austin, man, they put on some miles.
Yeah.
Like there's some hog guys out there that, really take pride in the patch.
Oh, I've already found, I went down the rabbit hole of this, the Hoka Hay and the guys out there, the Chris Hoppers out there that are fucking, their whole life is,
so one of the hog
he lives his
chapters in
life
Austin
1,000 miles a day. It's like
Jesse Alexander's a hog chapter member in Austin, and he's done that. I want to say 2 or 3 years in a row. That's endurance routing, man.
Yes.
I want to say hog chapters are definitely motorcycle fans, right? And if you take the motorcycle fan base and introduce them to the sport that's going on around them, there's a lot of times I don't know what's going on with all of the setups. Like I get confused on the teams and who's who and who got added to the races and everything else that I'm watching because I was really never a big NASCAR guy either.
Yeah.
So if you could explain that all to them and then make them a better rider with this book.
If you can, you're basically leading them to water. But the other side of this coin is that you need to get these promotion companies to take a vested interest into creating something that people actually want to watch while the race isn't on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in between this race and this race, and all I'm really preaching about is basically like BRL, and I don't know how much King of the Baggers is going to do because Moto America has, they put on they are the race company for racing motorcycles. So I'm sure they got their shit full on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But man, if you have the same way when Born Free puts on the deal, they send out camera crews to each one of these invited builders to create like scissor reels and like introduction videos to these builders about what's going to happen. It creates a hype, right? And the same thing should be happening with some of these racers. Like you got people like Steve who's been to every race, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or you have like your Arnie Wells and Zach Nation. I think one of them, didn't somebody just retire or something?
Yeah, Zach, I think he's taking a break.
Yeah.
Right now he's focusing on his family.
So and honestly, man, like that kind of recognition from people, like it goes a long way in this world these days.
100%.
It really goes a long way to make people remotivated into like continuing to invest more of their attention and time into whatever they're building and or trying to be good at. You know what I mean?
Any coverage. I know V-Twin now. Anthony.
I was just going to bring up V-Twin now. That's a perfect example.
If you look at someone like Anthony and you go to their profile or Instagram page, they have racer profiles.
Nice.
I don't know that I go to the BRL page or that it's ever popped up that made me stop. So, that's just what we've been saying is part of the ecosystem. That's the outside ecosystem trying to say, hey, man, come on.
Trying to support something. But
because they see the potential in it.
And that's nice because, even Steve at Speed Kings has been doing the rider profiles, not necessarily on racers, but just people in general.
Yeah.
For his YouTube and stuff. But at the, it's almost like I find it lazy though. I feel like the promotion company, they're a promotion company. Promote the fucking fight.
Promote it. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
At
all costs.
I
Whether
hear what
it's
you're
the
saying.
hype or the build up to a boxing match or just treating it straight up like WWE, right?
Yeah.
Like put some oomph into it because you do have a cast waiting for you.
Yeah.
With skill. Like
I said, it just draws attention towards it where people want to find out. And if you're trying to sell pay-per-view tickets to this deal and you've created this like situation where you got not necessarily shit talking anything negative, but just like, man, I saw that rider profile video on Homeboy and I want to see how he does today.
Inspirational
You know what I
stuff.
mean?
There's inspirational stories all over that league.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're 100% right. You know, and to be honest, I don't know that King of Bears really. I mean, Harley puts the money into promoting the brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know that I watch a lot of Indian. I don't know that I've seen it.
Indian just dropped that new FTR video. I mean, but it was a promotional thing for the new FTR where they had Tyler O'Hara and Jeremy McWilliams out at Coda, actually ripping around the track. But that was a bike promotion thing.
Yeah, I don't see like any of the big daddies.
Yeah.
I don't see them going in to do anything for the small guy.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
So
You're right.
they're gonna promote their own shit, and then everybody else, retail, basically.
And
Work harder.
my understanding, like, is that's the whole idea behind Screaming Eagle getting into this. And I mean, the Screaming Eagle and Indian both had a huge investment in King of the Baggers. And I mean, they were went all in this past season. But that the hope of Screaming Eagle was that they would kind of kickstart this thing, and then the individual dealerships would go, okay, like, this is pretty cool. We see the value in this. And then they actually jump in and start supporting.
So
riders.
you're asking. So what you're doing is Harley Big Daddy is putting money somewhere else, and then after they've already raped and pillaged damn near every dealership in America, the right to make.
I'm letting you go on this one, man.
They pretty much taken away the win from the sales of some of these dealerships because of selling their own motor clothes online and doing all these other things and trying to make things like Tesla and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, wow, like dealerships are like, hey, we're just here till you fucking finally pull the plug, is what I feel like is happening.
I mean, nobody's arguing.
No, not at all. It's they did change some of the stuff in like the NHRA a couple years back, where they gave us opportunities to jump in, and then they gave us opportunities to jump into certain sponsorships for certain riders. We took a different angle for a year. It's a hard business from a dealer perspective, from anybody to really fund. I was told by Paul, you need a huge, how did he put it? You need a big fortune to make a very small fortune in racing.
Oh yeah. It's how do you make a small fortune in racing? Yeah. You start with a big fortune,
Right?
Well, they say about a motorcycle business.
Yeah.
Be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right, but
Start with $1 billion.
I've watched those costs uphand as far as just being at the race and watching these motors come in and out. You're talking $6-7 $7 a pop.
Oh, just like that. I mean,
like I've seen a couple guys have like 2.
That's why I'm into custom motorcycles. It's just one price.
I am good, but it's hard for a dealership to really, really put it out there and be like the main.
Yeah.
Like you could jump in and help at certain extents. You could be the tire sponsor or something like that, but dude, it's expensive, man. Like we helped Steve out, we helped Eric Stahl out, and it costs quick, it goes up. But, the return on it, the exposure you get from it, at times it's hard to calculate what's coming from where.
Yeah. But it's a garden.
It is.
I
right.
mean, seriously,
But,
because quantifying any of that, I mean, I would say it's impossible
you
to
don't
quantify
know who
it.
heard about us and the phone rang and they didn't tell us where they heard about it. You have to ask right questions to get that information, and some people do and some people don't.
Yeah.
But it's doing the right thing for the industry and doing the right thing for the riders, if you have the opportunity, is big, right? Because that just helps everybody, right? And, I help who helps me, and, the ecosystem goes around like that, right? So it's a good thing, but expensive.
And I do want to, you brought up Eric Stahl. I'm just going to say this. For anyone that doesn't know, when we talk about Paul, it's Paul Cottrell, who's the owner of Lyndal Brakes, which I'm the sales guy. I'm just making, I got to do my little plug here. So yeah. But I'm the outside sales guy for them. I mean, really, nobody knows who I am. I mean, I'm just a guy that loves Harleys and just kind of met the right people and got on the track, and then I got a job with them. But Paul started in racing. I mean, this was like 30 years ago. Like, I think it was like 28 years ago, and it's been a racing-focused company.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's been support with Eric Stahl. It's cool because Paul has been somebody that found a rider, a privateer, that's doing it on his own. Yep. And Lyndal's a company that jumped on with him, and they've been loyal to each other. Yep. And you don't see a lot of loyalty between riders and normally it's like, oh man, well, shoot, we didn't really get what we wanted out of you, so see you later.
Yeah,
or somebody finds a better thing.
At the same time, I mean, you're in today's day and age, like you have to be like, for instance, stunt riders, right?
Oh yeah,
Stunt riders aren't necessarily coming at you with an actual business proposal of what's going to be needed and how they need it, when they need it, and what costs are. They're like, hey man, I like your seat, bro.
Yeah.
They're going that way, right? There are guys like that. I've seen Sea Bears, like, you know, Media Deck. There are professionals out there, but there's a big gap between the guy that's really good on Instagram right now and then professionals that have been doing it and provide a service for their sponsorships, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that the racing thing's the same way because it's new. You know what I mean? And a lot of the guys that are racing, maybe, you know, like when I talked to Tony, you know, Shred Moto a long time ago, he's been on the podcast a few times. You know, they went from riding in the canyons to going to Willow Springs, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no like education on how to market, promote, and provide some kind of some type of business proposal for somebody that's going to actually turn money over to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The actual structure to go and put something for. Because, I mean, let's be honest, these are all businesses.
Yeah.
Like, they're not just like, you're not meeting up in a back alley and getting $5,000 for your racing program.
That's what I'm saying. So if you look at it like this,
it's a business, and they need to know that there's value in it.
Exactly. So if you got like some guy that's like, hey, I need tires, so you send him a $500-600, no big deal. Just, hey, just shout me out.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about $5-6 grand, that's like, I got to claim this on my taxes, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I need something from you that's like legit so that, you know, or I got to 1099 you or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So
that's a really good point. Yeah.
So in a sense, you know, I always try to tell people, like, look, if you want to be taken seriously, then you need to come serious.
Yeah.
You know, not like in a DM, like, bro, like I got 2,000 followers, man, sponsor me. You know what I mean? Like like that was 2016 lingo.
Yeah.
This is 2022, about to be 23.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out how to put a media deck together and you can't provide some kind of like insight as to what you provide, where's your value?
One of the best things that I've been told as far as getting sponsorships.
Can you grab me a beer, Jay?
Like, if you are going to be the receiver of sponsorships, you're a salesman.
Yeah.
That's how you get sponsorships, is you sell a product for that team. I mean, for that business.
Yeah.
That if you can't add value, like, why? Why the fuck should someone that is making money just hand you money if it doesn't bring return? I mean, we're all adults. You know, you're paying bills. Like, it's all the same. So you have to be able to provide that value. But you're right. Like, there's no, like, oh, this is how I correctly acquire sponsors. Like, I'm still figuring that out. I mean,
Me too. I mean, I have like words like fuck. Am I media?
No, I know. Like, that one gets you in trouble sometimes. Like,
so this is what I'm fucking doing over here, buddy. So, you know, I try to be like who I am, but also be like with facts. You know what I mean? And my media deck is nowhere near professional compared to like Sea Bears. Like his shit would look like, I feel like when you ever seen like the book when you open up and then a house pops up and someone's it's like that level.
Willie's by, is that
LED
like,
lights coming on. Like,
and then there's a song too.
Yeah.
But no, like I don't have that. But I just try to get together the points and like I said, I think that most companies, they want to look at like numbers because numbers are easier to sell to people that aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you guys before we went on, it's like when you're dealing with a company, it's how you talk about the company in the parking lots, around the campfires, at the bike nights that really determine your value. And if you're one of the guys, I hear it. I hear certain riders, it might be stunners or whatever, like just motherfuck a company that they're also hoping pays their shit that much. It's like, dude, like if you don't believe in the product, you don't believe in the brand, then don't sell people on it because it's not authentic.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Move on. Move on to something, man.
It's a hard one.
I got to go to the bathroom.
That's fine.
So I'm gonna go.
It's just me and you, buddy.
Here we go.
All right, you guys have fun.
Yeah.
He's had one beer. He's got to pee already. Goddamn rookie bladder.
Yeah, I'm digging the racing. I'm not the best rider, man. I'm really not. Never been. I have that fear of turns myself.
Yeah.
You know? I went riding with a bunch of guys, and dude, they're doing 110, 115 through these hill country roads.
Yeah.
I haven't rode in Texas in 5 years. I was cool at 85, 90.
Yeah.
I'll catch up. You know,
I go through waves.
Yeah. These guys blow my mind. Like what riding out to Sturgis, man, you know how it is. You're on the bike for a long enough time, you become the bike and you just don't even think about it anymore. But the way these guys ride, it like Steve, you watching Mark ride? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know. Don't even know.
So basically, to kind of touch back on the Cowboy Harley thing this weekend. So it's can anybody show up?
Yeah.
Like it's whoever.
It's a free event. It's 12 to 2. In coordinates with an event all day they're going to have a barber there. They're going to have a food truck there. I want to say Johnny G's Barbershop, Sacred Heart Tattoo. All the vendors will be set up. They're having a men's shopping day, so they'll have a bunch of stuff on sale. Gift wrapping, all the fun Christmas stuff. But it's I think it's gonna be a good one. It's something new.
Yeah,
That's what I'm excited about.
We got a hotel on 6th Street.
You guys coming down Saturday day, staying to Sunday?
Yeah. I'm bringing my son.
Hell yeah.
So we're going to do the daddy stuff during the day, and then we're going to lock him in the hotel at night and go fucking wild. I'm just playing.
Where are you staying on 6th Street?
We say
6th and 35, I think he said.
Okay.
Something.
So Jake got the lowrider asked from me recently. He said he had some points for a hotel, so I was like,
There's
fuck
so many
yeah.
new ones, I probably wouldn't even know what the fuck it is. I got back and it was a completely different city.
Oh, Austin? Yeah.
Freaked me out, dude. Like, I was home every month, but I don't go downtown.
Fuck around, don't go to Austin for 5 years, and you come back and you're like, what is this?
The Hilton Garden Inn.
Oh, you're right. I know where you're at.
Yeah.
That's, Austin it's different, man. They need more highways.
You know, the last time I was in downtown Austin was when we were there in 2017. No, 19.
19, yeah.
Yeah. I've just avoided it. Like,
Me too. I
You
haven't
know?
gone down. I rode through on the way home from the V-Twin show at Central last year. I jumped off and rode through downtown.
when we come down, though, we'll probably take the fucking toll road around Austin and then loop back
I
up.
don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's bonkers, man. Like, even the side roads. I was home a week. I asked Robin, I was like, what's going on? I was like, what did I miss? It just took me 20 minutes to get to HEB. That's a mile away.
Yeah.
It was weird. But it's trying to bring Austin back. I was surprised on how many riders we were able to group up in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, well, man, we've been giving Austin a hard time for the last couple of years on the podcast. Ever since, honestly, since Cowboy, lost on you guys originally, it just kind of lost its sting, if you will. Not that there wasn't people there, but there were just nobody was taking command or charge to kind of create an environment for like the performance motorcycle side of things. And then, of course, with Mark up at Texas Performance, he's 30 miles north of it.
Yeah.
And he's made it clear plenty of times that sometimes getting from Cedar Park, Texas to South Austin, he can almost be halfway, if not almost all the way here to Dallas.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a mess.
Tow road, Mopac, it is. But what I've been doing is setting up meets either at the dealership or in Buda, and then just Kyle out to the hill country. Just trying to avoid it.
The Lyndal compound is it's rad.
We got a good spot, man.
Yeah.
Right out there on Highway 12. I mean, tail of the drain, you can go right out.
You're right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right, what, a half mile down the road from Devil's Backbone?
Yeah.
And then you're done.
That's what I meant.
Then you're out to Blanco and gone. But it's impressive. It was definitely an upgrade.
And we're talking about doing some bike nights and some rides from out there over the next year, because we kind of newer to that spot and having that facility, and we've got all that room. And so,
And I've got the flyer pulled up. Lyndal's the primary sponsor of this, right?
yes,
They're pretty much ones putting it on.
Yeah, it's
just
y'all's thing, huh?
yeah, that's I guess a dream. I was talking to Chico today about it, and he was saying that this is something that Paul's been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
He said like 10 years. He's like, I got this idea, twist of the wrist, and we're going to take it to the hog guys and just kind of tune the rider. You know, like that's been the whole dream, and just finally just
it happens.
It was 3 years since we started talking about it.
yeah.
It's hard to do stuff in Milwaukee like we're putting together now, right?
Yeah.
It was just, we could put stuff together, but it had to be like, all right, man, this is going to be 7 months out. Like, is everybody good with that weekend?
What I liked about the Milwaukee thing is it turned into like a fuck, are we all going to Milwaukee this weekend?
Yeah, it was like a destination.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a vacation on top of like we're also going like the industry party last year, was epic. It was a perfect time. Mama Tri was at the perfect time of the year. You know what I mean? Because it's like always around December, it's like we're not quite ready to hang up the moto culture shit yet for the holidays.
Yeah.
So like you're always looking for that last going out party for the rest of the year before the holidays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that 2 a.m.
Yeah.
The lights come on.
That was a good time. That was
And it wasn't so cold there. I mean, it was like it wasn't February in Milwaukee when everything's frozen over. You know what I mean?
it was 30, 36, something like that. It was,
It snowed a little bit, but I was like, oh, this is cute.
Yeah.
it
Been up
was
north.
fancy snow.
Yeah.
That was
Didn't even stick.
well, I'm hoping to see. Hopefully, we could pull off a version. I guess 3. What I'd like to call it is the Southern Fried version of the industry party. So
We got to find a way to really kind of pull. You know, with Milwaukee, it was easy. It's a trip for a lot of people, but you had the museum. You have a city that's full of history and culture, especially motorcycling. Like I've always said that when you're in Milwaukee, you feel welcomed. As
Absolutely.
a Harley guy, even as an Indian guy, you feel like fuck. I'm at the motherland right
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean?
it's built into the infrastructure of that city.
So, you know, Austin has a long way to go because, you know, there's, you know, I don't even know how the fuck Rot Rally still exists within anything close to Austin.
Oh man, it hurts my heart, to be honest.
That needs to be in like Fredericksburg or,
It does.
you know, somewhere else.
You need to have like a Texas Bike Week.
Yeah.
And figure out a city that can facilitate it with campgrounds and pop-up bars or whatever, but get everybody outside. Austin doesn't want it.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Well, Yellow Rose, I think it'll be interesting to see
Where Born Free goes.
where Born Free goes
Oh,
over the
Born
next
Free's
2-3
going
years.
hard,
It's-
dude.
Yeah.
They have such an incredible site there.
Yeah.
I mean, 120 acres, all the cabins are. I mean, it's just it's all right there.
I
Like,
enjoyed the hell out of it.
Oh yeah, it was great.
They got to figure
It's
out
gonna
the
be-
entrance and the exit.
They got all-
There's some
all that shit.
It's all
logistical-
figured out. So
Yeah.
when people buy tickets next year for it or wristbands, like you'll do your TABC
Online.
thing online, so you don't have to
Nice.
do it at the door anymore. And
Which I understand why they had to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like and like the legality of that, like that had to happen. But
What
yeah,
was
it
it?
sounds
It was a
like
dry county.
is that how it works? Basically,
I don't know.
I can't remember
Didn't
because
feel very free to me.
Yeah, I got 2 different explanations, and because the TABC,
there's bars around here where you have to do that at too.
just to get in.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, you have to give them your ID and they sign it, and you sign a paper.
Yeah,
become
that's-
a member.
That's the club
So the
thing.
club thing.
And I don't know the whole
And
rule
sometimes
of
that's
it, but
because of the
it's a county thing.
Yep.
And
Oh, yeah,
so that's
it's always wrapped
Bible
around
Belt,
alcohol.
grandfathered shit in. It's dumb.
yeah.
A lot of that stuff, those little towns will get a big enough boom, and you'll have just a younger people that'll come in and they'll just vote that shit out once the younger people get just enough into the government. And when I say younger people, I mean people in their 30s. So
yeah.
come in and go, like Rockwall, where I grew up, it was a dry county. You couldn't buy beer, wine, at gas stations. You had to go completely out of the county to buy anything.
Yeah, when we grew up around Dallas, I remember it was a thing because I grew up on the south end here. It was like, hey, we drinking tonight? All right, well, let's go across the river. Like they had to all go downtown Dallas to buy alcohol and liquor.
Yeah. And Rockwall's real affluent, and it was just one of the things where all of a sudden the people that lived there that paid all these taxes, the light bulb finally went off. They're like, what the fuck are we doing? And they passed something where they sell beer and wine in the store, and you still got to put the trick is the liquor stores right on the edge of the city limits.
The state of Texas is the mafia when it comes to alcohol.
absolutely. It was a
this
culture shock
Texas.
when I got here. I got here in 04.
Yeah,
and I
you go
worked
to-
in the bar business.
I remember the first
And
time I
was
went
like,
to
what the
Phoenix, and I was like, y'all got liquor in the Walgreens?
Oh yeah, New
I was like,
Mexico, man.
New Mexico. I
You
was
go
like-
into New Mexico and you got a gas station, and they got like a freaking fifth of like.
It's like it's so convenient.
Yeah,
This is a real convenience.
A real convenience store. Yeah, they're actually
Girls
living up
had
to the
like,
name.
knock off this label off the bottles.
They had to do that here.
Yeah, and it was New York. You just throw a thing in the garbage.
Yeah.
It was very odd.
it goes the other way too, though. There's places that are way more strict than us, like
Yeah, like
Canada,
Oklahoma just got the normal beer.
the province.
Oh, that's right.
Ontario, the province in Canada, they have you can't buy beer at a Walmart. Fuck liquor, wine. You can't buy beer at a Walmart. The only place you can buy beer, liquor, wine, any of that is literally a beer store. There's one store that sells all of it, and you have to go to that, and they're real strict on their hours and how much you can buy. And
Shit.
the first time I went, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
So
That's
you
not
gotta
my
stock
picture
up.
of Canada. like,
Dude, I just
you know, you
I
got
don't
Canada
drink.
and beer. Like,
I don't drink. I just spent 5 years in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There was third shift bars. I'd be on the way to the gym at 5 a.m. They were still walking in. On the way to work at 8 a.m. They were falling out. And they were just 24 hours. It was in my mind. You see, they were all like a neighborhood, and where you think there would be like a convenience store, an old like milkshake shop, it's a bar.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast recently, and I can't remember if it was a Rogan or a Andrew Schultz one, but they talked about this. And I've said it a million times on the pod since the first time I came to Milwaukee. And basically, in places where they've taken that away, they've had issues of the community not having like a connection with each other. So if you think about suburbs, like there's nothing in a suburb that really connects neighbors to each other. There's more bickering and fighting in suburbs, but then you get in the inner city where people are more communal.
Mingled.
Yeah, you have like, and say a bar, like out here in Texas, bars are kind of like in the seedy part of town, right?
Yeah, it had to be Rogan because this shit's pretty deep.
Yeah, so it's like it's this
the chess match of the world on how you place people and things. It's
so
crazy.
you put it over here, so it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go drink, and it's just so frowned upon that it's like in this area. It's almost like going to a strip club in some aspects. But then you go to places like Milwaukee or New York where it's
Boston, Quincy.
Boston.
Oh,
We've seen it firsthand in the Northeast.
Yeah, you go there and it's like, man, it's like this doesn't feel like drinking is villainized. You know what I mean? It feels like it's a way to communicate and socialize with
It's
people.
part of their community.
Yeah.
I hate to use it as an example, but like the show Cheers, like that mentality, you know, that's up there in Boston.
That is
just that mentality.
That is the concept of how we created our bike night here.
Oh yeah. That's
you know,
right.
it's like Cheers is like the, and I'm not some guy that can quote the movie or the TV show and stuff, but what it is it's the
you want to go somewhere where everybody knows your name.
it starts with a C. It's consistency of being there all the time. That you can create friends. The bars actually get to know you, and you get to a point where you can actually, like, the bars start hooking you up, right?
Yeah.
Like they reward consistency over, like, you know, if you're that one guy that goes to the bar that drops like $5. We were just talking about this the other day. Remember?
Yeah.
He drops like $5,000 at the bar buying bottles. Like, the bar is like, cool, man, thanks for your money. But that guy that comes in every fucking week and gets a couple drinks and tips $20 off a $20 tab or something like that, like, that's the guy that they appreciate. The bartenders and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the guy they're looking out for. If he needs help, they're buying him a ride home, so be it. Or God forbid, they're not letting him get in a fight or something like that.
It's your regulars, man.
Yeah.
I had it when I was bartending, and whether it was a band on, 4 regular guys are still at the bottom of the bar going, just give me my drinks. I don't care what you do.
I'd like to think that still transcends. Actually, I know it does. It transcends just bar life. That goes into, I think, a lot of aspects of business. Just people that fuck with you heavy. They may not be your biggest spenders.
I wonder
but
if
the consistency and the loyalty. It's
I wonder if this is a concept. Do you think that? I mean, I'm sure that, like, there are definitely probably a lot of alcoholics up there, but I think I read that is not where the most alcoholics are. It's not there. So I wonder if, like, the convenience of a bar at the corner for a beer or two on your way home from work versus the effort it takes to go to a bar on the outskirts of town, like, you're kind of like, oh, I got to get it. Just like you're at the beer store situation. Like, you're not going to go get a 12-pack. You're going to get 3 because you never know when you're going to need the other one, right? So if it's so inconvenient to go have a beer with somebody, do you try to go harder because you went out of your way to do it?
Depends. Yeah. Well, how bad do you want it? And it's one of those things. You could have it, kind of.
Yeah.
And just some human nature stuff.
There's a lot of psychology in
that
that question because you have access to it all the time. You're going to do one or two things. You're going to be really responsible, or the opposite. When you have to work for it harder, you might want it more. When you work for it harder, right? So,
or if you worked for it harder, you're going to try to milk it for all it's worth, is what I'm kind of getting at. Oh, I'm here. It's Friday. I'm getting shit-faced drunk tonight instead of, I've had a beer Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've had a beer every night this week, but a beer or a beer or two.
Yeah.
I think those neighborhood bars we're talking about in that situation are a lot more like that. You've got people that come in that have 1 or 2 or whatever.
Beer and a shot and go home and do it.
Yeah, it's
like going to check the mail.
That's their sense of community. They're not there. It's not like a club per se. They're there to hang out and talk and, oh shit, his kid's going through something. Well, fuck, I got stuck in an extra hour and a half at the bar. He need, you know what I mean? Shoulder to cry on kind of shit.
Absolutely. My grandfather was huge, man.
Sense of neighborhood.
Yeah.
New York City, he was in a bar at 7 a.m.
Did y'all see that?
And it was just people, you know.
What was that Amazon movie that had like Ben Affleck in it recently, where he was like the bar guy?
Oh, it's Uncle.
It was a pretty good fucking
It's
movie.
good. It's
really good.
Yeah, I'll look it up. It's Uncle Charley or something.
But yeah, there was an Amazon Prime movie. Uncle Jesus. It's with an IE on the end.
Ah, shit. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know what a beer was or a shot was.
The Tinder Bar.
The Tinder Bar, yeah. It's pretty
He,
good.
Oh,
he
I heard
was
about
the
that.
kid's uncle or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the Tinder Bar.
But the whole bar was like this community aspect to this TV show, and even that other one. Did you see the one that was on Apple where it had Zac Efron and he grabs all the PBRs to go to Vietnam to give them to his buddies?
No.
It's a true story.
No shit.
Yeah,
Shit, we've been needing this shit to watch, so.
it was actually pretty fucking good. So he like was at a bar. I mean, I was a really good movie. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's on Apple TV or whatever, and it's got Zac Efron, and it's a true story. And I think PBR had a lot to do with like bringing it to light, but he hopped because he was a shipper, dock worker or something like that. So he jumped on a ship with all these beers, went to fucking Vietnam and found his buddies that were there and gave them beer in the war, and then made it home.
That is a true friend right
That's
there.
a
Like,
fucking
that's
great
like
story.
It's called The Greatest Beer Run or something like that.
shit.
Well,
It was a good show, man. Apple TV has not necessarily been a great subscription for me.
there's been like 2 or 3.
Ted Lasso is the only thing that's been good on there, and then this thing came out. I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking good. I liked it.
Lasso was good. We watched the morning show on that too, though. It was what it was.
Ted Lasso, same thing. They're in London. They're at the pub, and I remember telling my wife, it's like every time they're in that, they have a bar scene here. They have a glass like this, and it's filled with beer. And I'm like, I want one so far. You know what I mean? It just that atmosphere. I love. I definitely have a drinking problem, but I like that aspect. I just love the way a beer loosens things up and creates like a community within people. And then, of course, if you have too many, it's like, it's too much. But
Yeah, it can be a thing.
Yeah, that was my thing. Yeah,
I've been very
drank
fortunate.
For
I
complete
haven't.
effect.
yeah,
0 taste. I didn't care what it was.
you just haven't drank with me. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Nobody. It's safer for everybody around, including myself,
Yeah.
to not drink.
Yeah.
So it's
You always like hear about those guys that like, they don't drink anymore because they're fucking wild, and you're like, man, I just want to see it once.
Oh, I've seen it. I've got
Okay, for real.
I'm not going to say his name, but I have a buddy that is like that guy. I mean, yeah.
We don't in our group, we're all pretty good drinkers, and we don't really have a guy that's like, oh fuck, here he goes again. You know what I mean? Like probably me, if anything, I'm probably the worst one.
I was that guy.
Speaking of consistency, I think that's one of the biggest things about our inner circle is consistently we're all really good. And because we don't abuse it, when you have your turn in the rotation where you're the one that maybe
You're twisted a little bit.
Yeah, when I say get out of hand, not get out of hand like causing it's all, just
Yeah.
like, oh shit. Cody can't talk. It's only 10:30 and Cody cannot, and that's a bad example. It's usually like me. Like, okay, Jaden can't talk. It's only 10:30. Like, we got to babysit a little bit. But even then, it's never been like, I don't think we've ever had one night where somebody's been like, oh, that was just the worst fucking night having to keep up with so-and-so. Had the night in Nashville where Kyle went hard, got sick, and it was, but it's always fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Cody got beat up by a car.
Well, yeah, that was the night Cody just kind of got separated, did his own thing.
Cody doesn't like the party to end,
I noticed that when he was in
Yeah.
Milwaukee. Yeah.
and he
But yeah, we don't have anybody that's I hate the term, but toxic in the sense like
Yeah.
I know a dude like that, a guy that I love in Rockwell that I personally kind of avoid because anytime he's there, he's the fucking X factor, and you don't know what could happen. Anything's on the board, and it's not worth it. It's not worth my stress. I want to get a little wild. I don't want to get all the way wild.
Yeah.
I don't want to possibly go to jail every night.
yeah.
We
We don't have those guys that are also looking to fight when they
Yeah.
like the angry drunks. We don't have
Yeah.
those.
We're all friendly drunks. We're
I
all
don't
super friendly
understand
drunks.
the angry drunk thing.
Yeah.
Like I've everybody's seen those guys, but like I just giggle more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I just have a good time and laugh. And
Somebody named Basic Bagger is asking me ask Charley about staying at Juan's when it comes to drinking too much.
Okay, Papa Juan, the meme
Yeah.
Oh,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Motherfucker. Okay.
Oh yeah, I did hear about this. I saw the things.
So
You had a sleepwalking incident or something?
I have been
Somebody's
known
on
to
Ambien.
sleepwalk, and so Juan and I, we had never met.
Yeah.
And I'm there in Southern California. I'm out doing Lyndal stuff. I'm hitting dealerships, doing my thing. I'm on the bike and we tacos by the beach, and it's just, wow, San Diego, watch the sunset. And he's like, yeah, you can go and crash at my place. I'm like, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So
What had happened was
I woke up to a very calm and very, very calm and generous Juan going, Charles, you're sleepwalking. I'm standing in his bedroom next to his bed.
Were you drunk?
I had some beverages. I wasn't like, I was probably drunk. Okay. Yeah. But so I was probably drunk. And yeah, I come to, and his wife is going,
terrified.
terrified. I mean, I'm just some random dude that had never met them until
She's
that
like,
night.
never again.
And yeah, and I thought about this.
Oh shit!
Had that happened in the state of Texas, like if I had gone to somebody's house here, I would have gotten shot.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
first time, and I freaking walk into your bedroom, and I'm, like I'm getting shot. And so
I'm thinking about that fucking. Wasn't it Step Brothers where they sleepwalk and he just like gets in there?
yeah, that was me. I was stuffing pillows in the oven. I'm that guy. So that did happen. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's
Yep.
wild.
Thanks, Neiman. Yep.
I sleep eat.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, it's horrible.
See, I've never done that. I always wake up hungry.
What does that mean? You just wake up, you go down and eat, and you don't
Dude,
remember
there
it?
was days.
I can't get too far away from this.
Yeah, back in the day, I would go downstairs and cook, but
I recently heard something about that. Cooking.
I have a bad sleeping habit, so I'll wake up 2 hours in and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go eat. It's horrible. So I like a lot of fruit and healthy stuff.
Yeah.
because it's just whatever's in my vicinity is going away.
Yeah, I forget where it was, a podcast or something, but I recently heard something about sleep cooking. And
Rogan was talking about it on
they were
on
like-
that Protect Our Park.
Somebody woke up and they're like, "Who the fuck cooked a lasagna last night?"
He was talking about Kevin James did that once because he was on Ambien.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's and I was
Who the
taking-
fuck
taking
cooked
Ambien
chicken
too.
parm or something? He made some big Italian dish.
Dude, that sounds so good.
It's dangerous. Like, it's crazy. It's the worst sleep habit ever. I mean, I wake up an hour and a half right after I fall asleep, and I got to start all over again.
I feel like sleepwalking was kind of accepted until Step Brothers came out, and then it just became a funny ass thing.
I've done some
Don't wake him up.
weird- Yeah.
He's in Narnia right now.
Oh yeah.
I've done some weird stuff. Yeah, I've had some weird sleepwalking episodes.
Well, just hope you never do like a wet dream sleepwalking. Could you
I
imagine?
peed in a banjo case when I was a kid.
For real.
That did happen.
So yeah, if we're pulling back the curtain, I've done that. I've just like blackout drunk, peed like in the cabinet next to the toilet in the bathroom, or peed in
I mean,
the
at least you're in
closet
the
or
right
something.
room.
But yeah, like
I mean,
just
I was in my parents' room.
yeah, but a handful of times, but that's a blackout. And no I don't take Ambien or anything like that. That's
I have
just,
I was
set
like 11.
set of buddies.
know.
They're brothers. That there's multiple, hanging out, drinking. They rise, they bump into a wall, turn around, piss in their own bed, jump back into bed. We're like, yeah. I was sitting in a computer chair. He woke up and bumped into it. We're like, oh no, and then he just hit that. It was over,
Yeah.
and then just right back in. Yeah, and then his brothers did it in my house on the floor a couple times.
the real world needed more people like that in their
Yeah.
casting back in the day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like real people.
I watched the was it the Floribama? That was like a guilty. I don't know how, but all of a sudden I'm watching this MTV reality show. It's basically Jersey Shore, but with a bunch of white trash people.
Oh, it sounds way better.
Yeah, and it is. And there's a chick who pees in the bed all the time. She gets hammered and and they're like, "Hey, stop it! Ah, fuck you!" And she's pissing. It's no, then crawls right in bed. And
Man.
There's a new, my buddy just sent this to me. There's a new MILF dating reality TV show coming out.
saw it.
Yeah.
MILF Mansion or
Yeah,
MILF
yeah,
Manor or
yeah. So
something.
that's on the horizon. There's great TV content coming out here.
Wow.
Yep.
History Channel.
Look You've been in Austin in a week. He's a comedian.
It's hard to see people out there living your dream.
Oh, man.
Crazy. That's awesome. So what is Austin now though? Like for the biker, like what do you think? I mean, is there still like Little Darlin and those kind of like more?
Yep. Getting downtown's rough, but you still have Yellow Jacket and White Horse and all that stuff on East 5th and 6th. Little Darlin's still there. Man, they turned another place, and I don't know if it really falls under the biker community, but this, I forgot the name of it. It's Stastny and Congress opened up a new music venue that used to just be this old beat-down bar for years. Yeah. Sagebrush is what it's called. So we've been talking about actually maybe having a Texas Hills pre-party at one of those two. But Austin riding was always maybe hit South Congress, go to a bike night somewhere. The riding is always outside Austin. Yeah. Right? You always got to skip through Kyle out the back way and get into Wimberley and out there. So it's just the small navigating has become a bitch. Time of days.
Well, I just wonder, like, based on like the community of that, do you have places where it feels like, does it still feel like bikers are welcome in these places, or have they turned into, and this is, I'm speaking out of ignorance of not being down there. Yeah. Has it turned into something where it's like you don't feel welcome in certain areas because it's too trendy now or too?
No, I mean, the places that I used to frequent, 6th Street was always a hard place to get your bike and want to be down there anyway, and then get on your bike and leave if you were drinking. So the places that have been around are still there. It's still there. It's still welcoming. And it's, mostly South Austin. I can't speak for North Austin because I really never go past, the river unless I have a purpose, and it's usually not a bike night or a bar. But South Austin, gems are still there. Okay. There's some new ones that open that I haven't got to yet. Mm-hmm. But I always like just heading out of Austin. I really do. It's how much we used to go to Doc's backyard on South Congress on Tuesdays, I think. And we'd have 20, 30 bikes leave the dealership and still meet 30, 40 bikes down there. And it was a good, consistent bike night.
I swear to God, I thought you were about to say, we'd have 20 or 30 beers. Just the way it was coming out, I was like, dude, I get it why you stopped, man.
Yeah, sounds good.
But that place closed down, and it was an old mechanic station turned into a bar. So it just had the perfect feel. It was kind of right over there by Austin Motel. So it was cool. By Revival Cycles, about a block away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a great place. That closed. Then we moved it to Casino Southside. We had a good run there, too. Smaller, harder to get to. And what, like Cowboys doing their bike nights at Railhouse and Kyle. Mm-hmm. A lot of room. It's not as busy.
It's a brewery there, though, right?
No, it's a beer barbecue.
Okay.
They have a couple food trucks outside. It used to be an old barbecue joint called Railroad Barbecue.
Okay.
The property's huge. I was impressed by how long the property is. Like there's multiple courtyards of hanging out.
That seems like the right kind of vibe, though, like to get a little bit out of Austin.
It is.
Just because of how busy it gets in all especially all those trendy areas.
Yeah, and what you run into now is just the congestion of if you're having a 7 o'clock bike night and Mark wants to come, was he got to leave at 3?
Yeah.
So that's what trying to figure out where to go. And to be honest myself, I'd rather ride on the weekends and ride than bounce around.
Well, the other thing about the riding out there is it's kind of like when Texas Hills first started, mm-hmm. and back in the day they would do these little deals where me and Brad used to come down and do that, mm-hmm. and we'd go ride out to some bar out in the middle of something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's like all these little field bars is what they feel like. It's like a big property that there's like a station where you can get beer and some food, but then it's just like this property where you just kind of go hang out.
Well, I think that one time we went, I can't remember the name of it. I was actually on that road last month. And then we all took off to Lukenbach, the back way. And this past time we went, so I did 2 rides. The first ride we went out to Shade Tree. We went to Lukenbach. I went to Fredericksburg. It was just one of those days to get out and put some miles on out there. But those spots, those destination bar spots, that's my favorite place to go to.
Yeah.
You got a food
We
truck,
don't have that up here at all.
No, not really. You got to stretch your legs a little bit to find those. That's one thing I was actually going to ask you about. When's the last time you haven't? Because I'm on his level as far as not being to Austin, dude. I haven't been to Lukenbach in probably 20 years. Have you been there recently? What's it?
Last month.
Is it the same? Is it grown? Is it changed?
It's the same.
Because I feel like that's one of those things that it's such a common name, but I feel like so many, like I'm guilty of it. I've been to 20 fucking
Texas.
years. But yeah, but how many dudes have never gone? Have just never made the trip?
We've done those rides back in the day with early Texas Hill stuff. We would go down there, but I never really saw the draw to it.
I feel like it's
because
gym.
it's like a lot of camping.
It's
like
a property.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't when I first went out there. I was like, we're going to Lukenbach, and we pulled into a property, and I was like,
Yeah.
what's this? Like, it's Lukenbach.
Yeah.
Knowing the history of the place, it all makes sense. And I think that's the draw, the history of the place. It's somewhere to say you went, took a picture of the post office. Really, Alamo Springs Cafe that's up behind it is probably the best food in that area. And then you could always shoot down to Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg's got a lot of shit going on. That place is fun. And then all those little towns that are kind of like north of Fredericksburg, south of Fredericksburg, east, west, like every 10, 15 miles, there's a cool little gem of a town that's got some vibes going on.
There's on the way out, we went the back way in. I went out 71 down to 281, and there's a motorcycle museum out there now. Jesse James had put some bike in it, and I'd seen the post, didn't pay too much attention to it, caught the name, and I rode by it. It's in that, when you turn off 281, it's in that first little town where you got to do 25 miles an hour to. It's a little corner store. I'll pull it up later. But I wanted to do a ride just out to see what they got.
Like Blanco or some shit like that? Or
No.
is it off? Like, it's not on 281, like 281 doesn't go through it?
So, and I might be having the road wrong. When you come out of Lukenbach and you go down to that gas station where you go left to Fredericksburg.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Make the
Yeah.
right. Like you're going to go back to Austin.
Yeah.
It's on that road.
Really?
Back towards Austin?
Yeah. So if you're at the gas
It's
station.
like- I know what you're talking about. Because the last place that Texas Hills took place was in Albert's Ice House, which we'd have to go through that town to get to.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So if you turn off 281, making
it's
a
like-
left to go there,
Bother me now, like,
go to Jesse's. If you go to his page, he's got a bike tagged in it, I think.
Johnson City?
Johnson City. Yep.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yep. Here,
Yeah, that's it. 100%.
You find a museum?
No, I ain't looking for all that.
Oh, all right.
Just a little west of that, Pedernales Falls State Park, which I've always heard. It's small, but I've always heard is awesome.
How, I mean, Austin's always been known for all the swimming holes that it always had, but I couldn't imagine how probably gnarly it is to try to do any of that. 6 years ago, we were trying to go down there to go to like, what's the main fall that everybody wants to go to? That's like
With
the wraparound, like
what's the name of that place?
When you're talking about
something pool.
Tommy, is the Texas Vintage Motorcycle Museum.
That's probably it, right?
Yeah. It's like something pools. I remember it, but
Hamilton.
Hamilton pool.
Hamilton.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like there's got to be a waiting list.
You got to make
no, it's
reservations
reservation.
now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
reservation only.
Yeah. Never. I was
That,
never.
that takes away the love of nature.
It does.
I got to get on a
When you
waiting
have to
list
schedule it, like
to go be in nature. Like,
But that's the thing, isn't the way I look at it is that's like the Californication
100%.
of Austin, because there's other places out there that you can find. They're just not trendy. They're not
Yeah.
on Instagram. They're not on whatever. You just have to go to them. Maybe it's a little off the path or whatever, but they're free. They're they're get in and it's let's go. Let's
we
do
go
your
to
thing.
we'd always do the Ink State Park at the Devil's Hole because they had a swimming hole there, and it was it's a lake and people there's tons of people there, but there's space, so you don't feel like you're kind of
bumping elbows. It's not
Yeah.
like floating a river
Take turns
where you're like
getting
flipping over.
And then it was cool because the main swimming hole, if you go walk like a quarter mile up the creek or the little river thing, there's like pools with like small waterfalls, and you can just kind of
chilling.
if you're there early enough, you can kind of claim it's mine, and then you put your little just like a waterfall, dude. It's fucking beautiful up there. You know
What
what I mean?
even then, what you were saying on floating the river, there's plenty of rivers in Texas. You don't have to float the ones where you're nut to butt with a
you don't have to
1,000
go
people.
from what like San.
Don't float the Guadalupe.
Kamal.
The
Go,
Kamal,
go
yeah,
float
yeah,
the
yeah.
fucking Frio. It's cold. There's a reason they
It's
call it the
called that.
Frio. But guess what? It's your river. You go out there with some
Dude,
homies.
go to
and that's
fucking
yours.
Brazos
It's-
down the street.
It's born free on a river. You know what I mean? It's
Go down to Junction, like float the
Yeah,
Llano.
there's
Like,
all- yeah, exactly.
Like you can do the Llano. You can you can do a whole float and never see anybody.
Yeah.
Like other than a landowner out on, some multi-million.
So I want enough people there that all the water moccasins are
They get
chilling.
shook up enough. That,
That
is a real thing down there. Like,
Oh, dude.
One of the drop-ins, like down there in Junction at the Llano, there's like these like locals are like, oh, watch out! There's about 45 water moccasins under this bridge here, and I'm like, the fuck, what?
I remember when I was a kid, it fucked me up. I couldn't float the river for like 15 years. We used to always go float the river with my family in Glenrose.
Oh yeah.
And they did exactly what we do. You link up. There's a fucking cooler fucking tent or a cooler thing. And
On the tube. Yeah.
And I'm just like paddling ahead because at the end of it's where we all kind of there's kids, there's people. And I'm just kind of floating ahead, just kind of not in the group. And everybody starts yelling at me, Chase. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like in the tube like this, feet down in the bottom. I swear to God, from me on a tube to that microphone stand right there, there's a fucking snake just sticking its head out of the water.
Fuck.
And they said, and I remember doing this, they said that I hopped out of that tube and was balancing on it. like my life depended on it, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the snake went underwater, and then I was like, fuck that. I sat like this on the tube for the rest of the fucking trip. Like, I'm never going in that.
I'm done with water. I'm done with natural water.
Brown water.
We used to go to a spot in East San Marcos that was close to like Maxwell, Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't remember the name. My buddy, it was one of those, you got your own fucking river.
Yeah.
Every now and then a group of, like a tour group of tubers would go by, I guess is the best way to, it's what it seemed like. But otherwise it was yours.
I want to go float the river walk. Music blaring.
Don't put your feet in there.
Blaring.
Bro.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, man. That would be a great photo op.
That's
my
for everybody that's not from Texas, that's a San Antonio joke. So.
Sure is.
Oh, man. I don't know. So, big news, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I'm excited.
You were a free agent.
I was. I
And you were,
I left on September 25th, and I kind of just came home with no plan. Hopes, but no plan. So I will be going back to Cowboy Harley as general sales manager on January 3rd, 2023.
Good.
So that's exciting. It's where I started. It's good to be home and everything come together. Mm-hmm. So everybody's
You had to go out and prove yourself to the world.
I'd kind of like did the
then come
Miami
back home.
LeBron thing.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
You
point.
go get my rings.
And come back like, I'll show you how to get one.
I'm gonna try to get one at home.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited. It's new ownership and new direction. That's really what it needs. And there's a lot of people in Austin that are just itching to have somewhere to go and shit to do. So hopefully I can provide at least a facility to create. You know, is really what it boils down to. So, creating this event with Paul and everything, I still didn't know I was going.
Yeah.
I had my fingers crossed, but going back and see what we could do. It was great. I love that place. I'm very loyal. No matter what the temperature was, I was always loyal to the building and the staff.
Cowboy.
Yeah. So, the Ed Morris group just acquired Cowboy Austin, Beaumont, and Alamo, and their Beaumont Power Sports store, and then just acquired Daytona. Mm-hmm. So, I'll be working for the Cowboy store in Austin that is now under the Ed Morris group, so I'm excited. It's good to have ownership that is passionate about what you sell, right? And I'm not saying that I haven't had that before, but not every dealership is blessed that way.
How much of a struggle do you think it is to go into the world of dealerships and the corporate structure, if you will, because a lot of these dealerships are owned by people that are outside of the motorcycle. I mean, and not as a dig to it, not saying like it's the man, like it's obvious, like it's an expensive thing to own a motorcycle dealership. There's a lot of employees, there's a lot of money that's involved. Like I don't expect a guy like me to, paint a couple bikes, but like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy this dealership. You know what I mean? So when you come into these places and you are as connected to the motorcycle scene and industry as you are, how to blend it all together, how to make a fucking like a nice, palatable thing for both sides of the fence.
It's hard.
You know what I mean?
It's a struggle because you got to look at both things, and you're looking at the scene that you're a part of and you have passion for and you have friends in, and you wish success and happiness for everybody involved. And it really depends on the ownership, but you always got to remember, on top of the ownership, there's Harley, and Harley they have rules, and some of them are, easier to read than others. I've made my mistakes in the past, but easily correctable. It's hard to say, man, and I don't want to speak out of turns, but Harley wants to win for Harley, right? I'm in a mental state that I want to win for the establishment I work for, but I also want my friends and customers to win, right? Because like anything good that lasts, it takes everybody involved to be 100% in.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you get 85% of everybody in, you still have longevity. Right. And my take on dealerships for 10 years, right, is I always wanted to have the cool shit for myself. Right. No matter what it was, whether it was sneakers, it was just into shit.
Yeah.
And before,
you're a material boy.
I want cool bikes,
Yeah.
I want, I got a fucking sneaker problem, but what it was is I couldn't afford it when I was younger.
Same.
And then I was like,
Hood rich, man.
yeah, it was like, I went and bought all the damn Jordans I couldn't wear in high school. Do I wear them now? No, but I got them,
Yeah.
It was just something in my soul, whether it was right or wrong. But for instance, we met San Antonio, you build your gold bike. Me and Harper's bike. Then I wanted your paint on the sales floor, right? Because it was badass. Why can't we sell badass?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying Harley stuff isn't badass, but there's a lot of badass around.
Yeah.
Right? So how come we can't share everybody's talents through this vessel? Right? Everybody's coming in here for a badass bike. If they want to drop 12 grand on Harley parts, we're going to do it. If they want to drop I think 2 grand on whatever, we're going to do it. But why not showcase the motorcycle industry and talent and the guys that are really inspiring to put people on bikes?
Capitalize on what you just said, I would think that some dealerships have missed the mark of realizing that what they're selling is a lifestyle.
Correct.
And the custom side of it, the flashy paint or the cool parts or the functional parts, these things provide value to the customer. And your job as a dealership, in my opinion, should always be about providing the best possible value to your customers at the best reasonable price. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the world, most people understand that we have to make money. Yep. Everybody has to make money. Money has to be made. And none of us are cool enough to get it free.
Correct.
Right?
I figured it out.
So, even, just so everybody knows, like, the deal, like, me and you, House of Harley, over the last couple of years, like, has been a sponsor of this podcast, but it's like, those motors, those were deals. That wasn't sponsored. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Those were deals that like we did together on different projects. So, in my opinion, like I think dealerships like have the opportunity, but it's a lot of work. As most people will find out, like anytime you do community-based things, you're going to deal with a lot of shit where you're like, man, this ain't my fucking job. You're going to think of that. You're like, man, why am I doing this? Why? But then you realize, like, this is also where I want to fucking be. This is where I want to party. So if we don't use it, if we don't make it happen, it doesn't exist.
100%.
So what you did in House of Harley kind of gave you free reign to do things, and it fucking I mean, maybe I feel like I'm too close to the center of it to see it from the outside looking in, but I feel like for the last couple of years that was the fucking spot.
I agree. And
the same way we heard of San Diego Customs when we first got into Dynas and shit back in the day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I agree. It was, and even listening to that, what comes to mind is just the amount of people that supported both ways.
Yeah.
Right? Out of the dealership and into the dealership. You had it has great staff there. They're all passionate about what they do.
Yeah. You get Alex Vogel, move him down here.
That was
Dude,
one of the,
Alex is awesome.
Alex is great. Right?
He might
And
burn. 'Cause that dude doesn't need a lot of fucking suntan lotion.
He is.
He's watching. He's already chimed in a couple times.
Oh yeah.
So
We just had a great chemistry, Alex and we had Harper and J Rock and I had Chris from Austin that came up there and Maston was up there for a year and a half and Rob Haskins. It was just people who gave a shit about what they do.
Yeah.
And it's
passion, man.
It's passion. And I talk about this all the time. If I got to train somebody or whatever the case may be, the one thing I can't teach you is give a shit.
Oh, yeah.
I can teach you how to write, type, print, close, everything. I could give it to you, whether you use it or not, it's yours. But if you don't have give a shit, I don't have it for you. I have my own, but that's the one thing that takes people to the next level. Like I think I mentioned earlier, I was always a why guy.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing anything. Just tell me why if I don't understand it. And if I ask, just let me know. Don't, make me feel like a dick. I'm asking because if you want me to pull off whatever it is you're asking me, some knowledge is going to make the whole result better.
Yeah.
Right? I go into it blind, probably fuck it up. I'll be right back. Or you could give me something, and I'll try to master this shit for you.
Yeah.
So when you have guys like that and then actually give a shit about the actual machine we sell and fix, it changes the game.
When you go to a bike night and you talk to someone about their bike and their parts, and they're proud of the money they spend on the motorcycle, the parts, there's passion in that, right? And that becomes it becomes infectious, and you get it, and you want that. Mm-hmm. Whether it's not, not to go deep in psychologicals, but there's people out there that they just want to feel the way you feel about certain things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Oh man, that dude loves it. Man, maybe I'll love it too. Yeah. Maybe there's something that's not on the surface about motorcycling or riding a Harley that can be, I don't know. Maybe he can tell me all this, and I see it, and it's in his being, but I got to do it myself, right? And then you get that, right? And dealerships got to feel like, in my opinion, you got to walk in and feel like, man, this place is full of passion.
100%.
You know?
The feel of a dealership energy level is a huge tell for me, no matter where it is in the country. You could walk into a dealership and whether they know who you are or don't know who you are, you could tell who loves their fucking job. And typically if there's one or two of those in the dealership, it's contagious.
It's infectious, man.
Yeah.
But you got
it spreads.
zeros laying around.
Yeah.
That's infectious too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we were doing our big trip this year, I had went up to Lawton to go hang out with my daughter before I met all the guys in Amarillo. So I made it to Amarillo like 3 or 4 hours before the guys showed up. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to go check out the dealership here. And I'm sorry because what I'm about to say might hurt them, and I don't mean to. I walked in there, and it was the most depressing shit I've ever seen. Now, granted, it was a rainy day, so that's always kind of like going to lower the vibe for a motorcycle, anything. But I just walked in, and I felt like I saw a lot of negative space in the dealership. You know what I mean? Negative space. You know what I mean by that? Like walls that didn't have shit on it. Yep. Like when you come in my studio, you see my passion.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Right? This is our life. This is what we do here. Yep. Right? So when I go to a dealership, like remember we were on our New York trip or our main trip and we went to Tobacco Road, Harley, and just like the second floor was full of all the racing Harley stuff that the owner had did, and then he had a penthouse up top that was sick as fuck.
Even if you didn't know what you were looking at, or if you didn't give a fuck about racing, there was a level of respect. The way they had it displayed, the amount of shit they had, the time and effort that you could tell they put in just having it there.
To curate it.
And dude, yes, and this was history. This is, blown cylinder and all kind of just random shit. Everything from bikes to parts to whatever, but each one had an explanation. And like I said, even if you don't really know what you're looking at, you could walk through and go, man, this is something. And if somebody, this is somebody's crack. This is somebody's everything.
At House of Harley, what I used to love about being in there is that huge mural on that wall with all the police, the kind of like a homage to that and stuff. And then you had the big eagle on it. Like, that's what I mean by creating something in negative space. And this place, when I went to this Amarillo dealership, and this has been many of other ones, right? But this one in particular, I felt like it was like, I felt like Neo in the Matrix, right? Like there's just a blank wall, and it's cubicles, and then there's like, oh, we got Dixon flannels over here, and you know what I mean? Like, here's 3 bikes because there's no bikes in the country to sell right now, and you know.
I was gonna say that could have been a lot of it, but to be honest, there's I want to say at one point there's 667 dealers in the U.S. Right? Just do the math, like quick. How many you got in Dallas? 6?
Yeah,
something like that.
6, 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 dealerships.
Yeah.
So that passion is divided by 8, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a way to look at it, but I always want to buy. That makes sense.
No, I understand the math, but I've been in all those dealerships, and it's not an equal breakdown between.
No, they're
but,
not.
But yes,
Yeah,
I
it goes up and
understand
down.
mathematically. I understand what you're saying.
Because if you could concentrate it all in one, like, look at Black Hills.
Yeah.
Like, right? Milwaukee, there was a couple more that closed over the years, but Milwaukee as a whole is a passionate motorcycle place. There's dudes that buy bikes just because they want them in their garage, and they will trade them in next year with 9 miles on it, but they had a 22.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one
Which
of those
was
places.
beneficial for guys like me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like 227 miles, I think, something like that. But
I'm going to say a thing. So I'm a Harley guy.
Yeah.
So working for Lyndal, I've been in 27 states over the last 8 months and hit dealerships in all those states. And not a huge amount of energy, but some of it's gone into walking to Kyle. You're going to appreciate this, old Forever Rad. Indian dealerships. There's this new energy.
Mark that in so we can cancel this out. Edit.
But I'm just saying, like, I have seen there's something there. Like I've been into a bunch of different spots where dealerships that are owned by the same umbrella, and you walk into the Harley shop, and it's just the old kind of crusty, like, fuck you. I don't get, like, fuck, here I am at work again. And then you go across the parking lot and you walk into Indian, and you've got these people that are just, they're excited about what they're doing. So I don't know. This is just an observation that I've made. I don't know what it is.
I wouldn't know. I don't go into any dealerships.
Yeah, I don't either. Do they exist?
Oh my gosh. Kyle, potassium. Don't forget it. You need it in your diet. But
Well,
that's an observation that I've made.
I get that it's for a dealership. It's probably hard to find these people and also be able to afford to pay them the kind of money their passion deserves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your dealership has to be making enough money to afford those things. So I get there's a whole back end of this thing, but I think it starts at the top.
Oh, 100%.
And maybe instead of finding the guy that's in motor clothes that's super passionate, because it's always been this, right? Especially with this podcast for the last 5 years. In the back, it's getting played in the service department because those guys have always been the passionate people about this, right? And so you'd always like when I would go to dealerships randomly across the country, it would be the guys in the back that would come out and go, dude, I love your podcast. We listen to it all the time back here. Guys in the front, hey man, was that a Street Glide? It's a joke because I never fucking would ride a Street Glide.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not connected. It's a sales job. They're good at talking, but they're not like always, being a good talker to sell things is one thing, but actually being a motorcyclist is a completely different thing.
Living it. There's a big difference.
Dude, that's day and night on success, in my opinion. I want to buy my motorcycles from a motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
If I'm going to buy a hot rod, I'm not going to buy it from some guy
A
who
Kia
races.
dealership.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Got this on trade.
the key is to have motorcycle guys selling motorcycles, right? Granted, it's like putting together a football team. I need a wide receiver, and you got to figure out your age demographics and your everything that goes along with looking at a whole market customer base, right?
Yeah, you need a Santa Claus, like, silver fox looking motherfucker in the back to sell the goddamn boomers back there. Like, he's just like, hey, you got to get on this, man. Trike, it's nice. You know what I mean? And, like, you 100%. Need people that connect with certain demographics of people because if they're actual bikers, then I've always felt like a dealership's job is to guide the customer, not into a sell only, but also where they might fit in.
The whole life.
Yeah.
It's the life cycle of a rider. You got to take them from, my friend told me to come in and buy a street or a Sportster, educate them, right? me personally, I hate doing that.
Yeah.
I'd rather sell them their second bike first, so this way you grow into it and you're not coming
Yeah.
back being really mad at me in 6 months going, man, I grew this thing. I got 108 miles to it and I can't keep up with my buddies.
Yeah.
It's gonna
What do you
happen.
want to do on bikes? Let's fit it out.
Let's.
Ride this bike. Tell me what you think is a problem, and let's work out these problems.
That's what it is.
100%.
Because, look, if I put you on a 48 and you're back in 6 months, but if I put you on a Softail standard and your skills got better over 6 to 8 months, you're not looking to come back right away.
You can modify the bike forward to what you want to do on
Yeah,
it.
you're not coming back in 8 months going, I need a bigger motor.
Yeah.
Let's put you on that.
Can you grab me another Guinness? Because I have a
and
drinking
grow
problem.
you. You know, and then you get there, right? Then, you know, it depends on the rider.
Yeah.
You know, I like having a big bike and a small bike, but did I at first? No.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I budget and everything else came into play, and I was like, I want something cool. I want something that, you know, I could ride around and not be embarrassed on.
Yeah.
But you have the guys that I've had first-time buyers come in and go right for the Road Glide,
Yeah.
and which is fine. Like, if you have riding experience, but this is your first Harley, and walk you through it, but you know, you're never going to not sell a bike. There's been times where I said, man, I think that might be too much bike for you. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's a test ride or some observation or some questions on, you want to direct them correctly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you want to introduce them to not just the machine, but the culture.
Well, you can also, you know, by taking a little bit more responsibility of this, you're, especially with new riders, you're kind of like the first step into either creating a lifelong motorcyclist or a hobbyist that's going to be out of this in a year, right? And by selling them the right machine is a big thing. And you know what? Some people, the Sportster is the right machine, or the Street 500 is, right? But the knowledge between the people that are standing behind the bike saying, remember the old memes, like slaps it once and then, you know what I mean? Like,
It's the question, right? A big question, you know, especially when I was on the sales floor is, you know, what number Harley is this? 37. You know, who you have in front of you,
Yeah.
and what path you got to go down, right? One's a whole different path. 37's like, what color you like? You know, because they know what they're there for,
Yeah.
right? And
just show me which one you want. I'll hit you with the keys.
yeah, just red, blue. I mean, it is what it is. You obviously know what you're doing and know what you're here for. But you bring them down the right path. We used to have, so those bike nights I was talking about earlier, that was an invite the customer back for that ride. And it was just from Cowboy down to Congress and down to the bar. But it was the guy who bought the bike last week. You know, it was the kid that bought the, you know, Sportster last week.
Yeah.
Cowboy still does it. They do it on Sundays. It's like customer appreciation ride where they bring everybody back. And, you know, depending on the level of rider you have in front of you or with you is the ride.
Yeah.
But you have to grow these guys. It's a very easy look. In a sum of things, in these giant boxes with these barn shields on them all over the country, there's not a single thing in any one of them that we need to survive to tomorrow or tomorrow to the next day.
Yeah, it's all luxury.
It's all luxury and wants, right? So the culture that's been built over 120 years, right? For me, it's a need. I agree. For
Yeah,
me, it's
100%,
100%
yeah.
a need. The culture that's built and the history over the last 120 years, not everybody understands. Not every guy that walks through that door has done research. The Bar and Shield, it's an intimidating brand if you don't know it, right? When you were younger, I don't know, did you?
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those, whoa, what goes on there? Leather and straps and loud chromy things, you know, like. So to walk through the doors for that first time rider is already an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't know. And then asking the right questions. You know, you got a lot of guys coming off sport bikes. You got a lot of guys that just go, I want to go ride a motorcycle. I've never rode before. And that's, to be honest, that's the joy of the job. Right? When you get a guy and you put him on his first bike and then you see him 6-7 years later and he's on a Road Glide that's all fucking tricked out and he's like, what's up, dude? I just rode across the country. You're like,
Yeah.
fucking A, dude. Like, I remember putting you in riding academy. Like,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
signing you up for your class. And that's where you're at, you know? And it's that's the joy of it. And that, building the rider, you know, Harley had a big push when, you know, Levitich was in, and it was, they wanted to grow the rider. They wanted to aim at the urban, aim young. And it's the truth. You have to grow the rider. But I don't think, as a whole, they were looking at everything correctly, because there's a lot of guys that are growing, riding that, well, just
Hardly
about-
had nothing to do with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just the dyna scene alone, right? Like they caught up, you know, kind of like extended bags, right?
You're welcome, Sons of Anarchy says to them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was waiting to see all the soft tail heritages with the big bars, but maybe that's happening in Cali, but I don't think it has the impact. It was growing around them.
Nobody can replace Jax Teller.
Heard they're coming back with something. But you have to grow the rider. And I'm not saying Harley has to keep that promotion going. It just needs to be a conscious, consistent thought in salesmen, sales teams, sales managers, GM's heads. You know, look at the world we're in, right? You couldn't find bikes at points 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, no bikes, no customers. You know, customers aren't kicking down the doors. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Teach them the right thing. Show them the right path. Keep your customer, right?
Well, if you think about Harley, right, you're selling a lifestyle, right? And so I've always felt like a dealership has to provide a lifestyle, or at least they need to peel back some of the curtains of a lifestyle you can enjoy in this. You meet a lot of people. Like we've always said this as riders, man. I go to bike night and I'm hanging out with a doctor, a lawyer, a fucking, you know, a drunk, and we're all having a weird conversation. And we're all friends. But if you take the bike out of the situation, I would never talk to any of these motherfuckers, right?
100%.
And so when you have that power with a machine, like the way that things could be presented to the world or marketed for a sleazier term, it's failed to hit the mark. It's like it's constantly promoting to a demographic that I think responds to more of an exposure of a lifestyle or culture versus like, hey, look, ride this. You know what I mean? Like
some flashy product. Like it's
well,
not.
Think about
just
it like this.
That.
I think we all have. Everybody listening, we all have that maybe one or two things that really inspired us to ride a Harley, right? Who knows what it is? It could be some dude ripping a wheelie on a Dyna. It could be unknown. It could be Forever Rad with something he's done. It could be so many different things. It could be some dude at the bar that just gets pussy every time, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But whatever that is, it was an attraction to something that they saw a lifestyle behind it, right? Men are not going to agree. They're not going to admit to this, but it's the truth. Yeah. You see a bike there, oh, it looks cool. You see a fucking bike doing some cool shit. You see Brad Pitt riding that motherfucker, you're like, God damn, looks cool as shit. I think I could be like that. I think I might look that way. And I think that's what helps like sell to especially in nowadays culture where it's all, you know, shorter attention spans, things like that. You have to find a way to create something that's very impactful. Sons of Anarchy did that for people. As much as a lot of the industry wants to joke about it. All the
shit talking about it, but there was noise.
Yeah, it created like this representation of a mythological idea of what motorcycling is. Yeah. But it sprinkled in some reality in there. Even though a lot of it was, you can't kill it. I mean, those are GTA numbers. You know what I'm saying? About killing people, right? But at the same time, like it created this like this want for that, this want for like, I mean, think about when it came out too, like the last 10, 12, 15 years, I think all cultures looked for an escape from reality, 100%. Whether it's van life, camping, the motorcycle culture, backpacking the world. Like a lot of people are looking at it and there's never been a better time for motorcycles to speak to the youth. But I think for, maybe a very ignorant perspective on my end, just a surface value one, I think Harley's put their money into so many different areas that missed the mark, but it did move the goalpost a little bit in a positive direction. There's so many more women riders now. There's always been minority riders, and I remember when they made that push, and I'm like, have you heard of East Bay Dragons? Like, there's seriously. Always been a minority, version of Harley Davidson, right? But the women thing has grown tremendously. Yes. And I remember when they put I remember being a part of this industry when they started making those implements to promote more of that. Yeah. And that's grown great. And I think young people in general has grown great. I think the women riding is actually probably promoting more younger men riding because they want to fucking, be friends with these women.
Be friends.
Or their girlfriend just went and bought a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a pussy.
I mean, it's not a cool look when you're riding on the back with your chick. Like,
But anyway,
I've
I
actually
mean,
watched that scenario happen.
yeah, it happens a lot.
it does.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
It is. Harley did,
I think I just contradicted my whole rant by saying that, but it's all good.
No, it's you got to leave. Look, community involvement isn't up to Harley as a corporate entity. It's up to the dealerships, right? And growing riders is up to the dealerships.
Yeah.
Putting the seeds out nationally, subliminally, is up to Harley, right?
Yeah.
That whatever you're dropping. I'm not going to buy pink pants. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. Even if I had a shovel head or a pan head, I probably still wouldn't wear pink pants. And I wouldn't buy them for $100. But I don't sit in those meetings, and maybe there is that little piece of the pie out there that they took a swing at. But I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
It's up to the dealerships to grow their communities and to educate their communities, put them on the right motorcycle path, right, by having educated employees.
Yeah.
So I want to fire a question at you. As far as the community in the DFW area, it's like I've been all over the country. I've gotten to see a bunch of different bike nights, and I feel like you guys have created something. And I guess I'm curious, what involvement have you guys seen from the local dealerships?
Absolutely none.
And that's what I've been wondering.
They've never supported one bike night we've thrown or one event we've put on.
Yeah.
They've asked us to come support theirs. They've asked us to share.
We have come to support
And I know
theirs,
that you guys have. I mean, you got
grassroots stuff. We've got buddies that work there. So
Yeah.
one of those, hey, we'll turn this our organic and pulled significant people out there to, hey, we're going to party out here tonight. Come hang out.
Yeah.
And it's
never reciprocated. So
it's not even appreciated.
And that's one of the things. It sucks because Dallas has got a fucking. I mean, we just had the homie from Michigan down there. He's like, dude, I'm fucking moving to Dallas. You know what I mean?
There's a good scene.
Yeah.
It's really up and coming.
But
and
we've
very
never
solid.
had support. I used to make jokes like, it sucks that I got to go to Milwaukee to do a 131 because you guys are so fucking out of the loop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or I got to go buy a bike from Milwaukee because you're so far out of the loop. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's a lot of great people that work in all these dealerships, but they're just
there's something to what you said about the 8 dealerships almost divide. I know what you said, all right, we'll divide the passion by 8. And it's maybe not numerically
that might be a 4 over there,
but
and
it's
a
the
1
same.
over there.
It's the same concept where there's so many irons in the fire that nobody cares. Why am I going to go out to do it? Because somebody else will do whatever the fuck. It's not. I guess nobody feels like they can be the one that let me take the fucking reins. Let me be the fucking guy here.
I think that all these dealerships are owned by 2 different people, or maybe 3, right? So 8 dealerships and there's 3 owners or something
then
like that.
it's not in their interest
So
to
it's
try to be the one.
these people are going to price shop back and forth, and none of these dealerships are going to invest in any type of a crew to stand out and be the crew to do what you've done at the places you've been, right? So,
Yeah.
It's not just for me. How do I word this? It's not just for dealerships to try to connect to people. It's to get behind individuals with a vision and support them long enough for those visions to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the other thing that me and Tommy have talked about for years is that investing in creating culture and scenes and bike nights and all the shit, even the things that we've done here, even our camp out, right?
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
people, now we're at 1,000,
Yeah.
right? And it grows. And maybe we'll have 900 next year. Maybe we'll have 500 this next year. Or maybe it'll be 2,000. You don't know. But if you just be consistent and you trust the system and you trust the hard work, then it pans out.
Yeah.
It does.
You know?
It does.
I got to pee so bad.
I'm not going to judge you. I peed 3 times. So I do have nerve damage. I'm going to say that.
Baby bladder.
Yeah.
Baby bladder.
Back in my little diesel mechanic days, I have a little back injury. It kind of.
I haven't tapped the cork yet. I'm gonna have to go do that soon. Pop the cork.
Charlie, one thing I did want to ask you about was your history and involvement on the racing, because it does seem like 2-3 years ago when this all popped off. I don't know if that was your first foray into it, but it seemed like you got into it then, and then I've personally seen you just go more and more and more, just invested in it. And is that how it started as far as people coming out for Saturday and the guy that had no idea? Wait, you're telling me I can get my Harley out on this track? That dude, how did you get into it?
Okay, so for me personally, where I first saw it was through Instagram, and it came really back in 2020. The first like real introduction into the industry that I had was through Bobby Seeger at Indian Larry, and we just kind of became buddies through Instagram, and it was really talking about political stuff because we agree and have similarities there, and then I met
fucking Biden supporters.
Then I met Frankie, like Hard Rider Racing, and Trevor out Bulletproof Welder. They all did this track day out at Chuckwalla, which was like that first track day.
That's when I had a lot of coverage on.
That dude.
What was the year on this? What time frame?
Like January of last year.
January of 2 years ago.
Okay,
so it was that 21. January of 21. I mean, everybody was out there. And that was like that for, it was, I believe it was like this BRL King of the Bat. Like it was like all.
So that one was the one where BRL was separating from that.
Okay, so that was their first.
Because King of the Baggers took place.
Okay, yes.
It got postponed because it's supposed to be at an earlier part, but then COVID, all that shit, it got postponed because they couldn't have spectators in Laguna Seca. Remember?
Okay. Yes. And so I saw that stuff on Instagram because I had a few buddies that were doing it. Like Trevor was out there, Frankie was out there, and then like Connor, that's there in Round Rock, like Connor FXDB, coffee guy. Yeah. Connor and I kind of became friends through Instagram. I saw him doing some of the track days with Ride Smart, and my road bike's a 17 Lowrider S. I just did a 117 build on it, and I put all this money into that, and it was kind of sitting there in the garage. And after my dad passed away, I just went and I bought I don't know if it was a midlife crisis, I don't know what it was, but I just bought a brand new bike from a dealership, which was my 21 Lowrider S. Mm-hmm. And that was always, the plan was build the Dyna, make that the race bike because it paid off, Yeah. And then the Softail was just going to be my daily rider. And I did a track day on it, and that was September 12th of last year. And then I went out to the Indian Larry block party, and Murph, 113%, who had been doing the track stuff, he's like, Charles, don't be a pussy. Go out to California and go get your race license. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so then the next weekend, so I went from track day to being in Brooklyn to the next weekend, I drove out to California. I trailered my bike out there. I got licensed at Chuckwalla, and I have just,
you've been doing it, dude. I've been seeing it.
I've just, I don't know. So, I'm not the fastest Harley rider in the country, but I'm the guy that has shown up, and I've built my bike and paid the money, and I've bought tires, and I've paid for entry fees, and I've traveled from the West Coast to the East Coast. And so it's like, I'm not the only guy that can do this, but it's an investment.
For sure.
You have to love what you're doing.
Yeah, you're the epitome of the guy that got it and the guy that it just took over.
Oh, I just
and
drove in,
perfect
man.
example of anybody can do it. If you get the fucking bug, and if you want to work hard enough to make it happen, you can fucking do it. And like I said, we're lucky enough to know a handful of dudes like that, but that's what I was thinking with yours. You got into it fairly recently, so it's not this, I've been racing, I was racing at 8 years old.
No.
That's rad, dude. That's so badass.
My first race was the weekend that I got licensed, so it was September 24th, and I rolled in, and it was like the twilight, I don't know, that's not the right example, but
it was surreal,
I was so
though.
fanboy, because I've got Tony Shred, and I've got Joker, and Ravi Savage, Clay, Josh Nichols out there, Eric Stahl, Frankie Garcia, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what am I doing on the same track as these guys? And the coolest thing that I've experienced, Brandon Quaid, these guys, if you're not a dick, if you don't come in there acting like you know more than you know, you don't come in like you're just some big fucking swinging dick who's just going to go mop on people.
If you stay in your lane.
You stay in your lane, these guys will build you up. They will help you. They will coach you. I mean, it's incredible the support that I've gotten from the racing community. Pointy Pitchfork, like Zach, he was one of the guys that was just like, just come out here. Greg Stinnett, he's like, just do it. Just do BRL. Just show up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this guy placed in the last race, and he's like, has no idea who I am. And he's like, just come out here. And there's so much love. But that's across this entire community. Yep. Like when you get into the right pockets of it.
Yeah.
So what I've seen going from somebody that was completely outside the industry to then starting to meet people in the industry, doing the racing, and now working in the industry. There's really shitty people in the Harley industry. Oh, yeah. And there are some really fucking solid people. And there's just such a clear, defined line between those places.
I think that you find the better groups of people when you're at places where you both earned it, right? So when
100%.
you're at a racetrack, everybody there is on a level playing field. They're on an equally put in the effort playing field, right? Yeah. The same thing we found at our camp out, and this is a plug, I'm sorry, but our camp out, people ride or they make the effort to be there, and then when you get there, everybody's welcoming and like stoked to see you. There's not like the cool guys in the corner just like, look at that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Because everybody busted their ass, especially in the years like, what was it, 21, when there was snow halfway across the country. So you're even more stoked about anybody that came from anywhere north of Oklahoma that you're like, God damn, dude, what was it like? And so
every year there's some part of the country has something like, oh shit, did you hear about the dudes coming from Ohio? They got hella thunderstorms and stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're riding through tornadoes. Like it just every year somebody has something to get there, and it's Jason's exactly right. When they get there, it's like, oh, dude, you rode through that? Fuck yeah! Like let me buy you a beer.
Well, so
you want some mushrooms?
We've noticed, like in regards to like the community aspect, and this kind of leans into what you were just talking about. We've hosted a bike night now for 5 years, coming up on 5 years, and basically what we found is that you don't want it to grow so big that people can't connect, but you want it to be big enough where you want the community that comes to it to be big enough to where there's always someone there every week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
the relationships that can be built on a smaller group, like people tell us about like Quaker State out in Florida, huge. 500, 600, 700.
Just diluted at that point, though.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to a bike night with 700 people, don't get me wrong, if we had something like that here, I'm sure we'd probably check it out every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But when you go to a bike night with 20 people or 15 people or 30 people, like, you get to know these motherfuckers. And you know what? I might not talk to him this week, but one week in these next couple of weeks, we're gonna chop it up. And we're gonna find out who each other are, right? And so that's what I'm saying is like you want to be in, like, it goes back to that whole tribal situation. Like, you're now a track rider on a Harley. That's a small group of people, right? So you have this bond of like, that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, literally every day on Instagram, there's like 14 of us, and we're all guys that have done either BRL or Super Hooligan and Moto America.
Yeah.
And we're just all day long talking about racing, talking about non-racing, talking about life
passion.
Stuff, just all day long.
Yeah. I mean, and that's exactly how like our scene got built here.
Yeah.
Is based on a bike night, a group chat where everybody was super passionate about. So every day, you were just in there just chopping it up and blah 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 and like, oh, that was crazy. What happened last night? Jaden body slammed the dude, and you know what I mean. You just constantly get that type of shit, but it's a community effort, man. Like when you have a small community, then everybody's important, and that's what most people want. They want to feel important in their community, but they also fucking forget sometimes that like, hey, you wanted to be important, and now you are, so you have an important role to be here.
Yeah.
And when you don't show up, it affects things. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the same thing with racing. It's like if you have a small group and then people start backing out, it falls apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
Everybody's just got to know that they have a role. You know what I mean?
Ecosystem, man. It takes
4? Really?
Damn, man.
Fucking up my lights.
You ain't got to worry
Cut
about
them off.
what? No, 28 days.
Yeah.
That's ecosystems, man. It's really what it is. The world's built up of little mini ones to keep everybody's world, going in the right direction or a direction.
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to take a lot to, the riders are there in Austin. It's like Rennie's all the way up in Leander. And, I got hooked up with a bunch of guys that are New Braunfels and San Antonio. And just waiting for that weather to switch again. And I'm going to come up to your bike nights on Tuesdays. Me, Dustin, and Mikey are planning on riding up.
Nice.
So,
do you feel like there's a vibe there that there is something we've talked about before, that everybody's there? They're just kind of waiting on somebody to not necessarily be the leader, quote unquote.
You know what
but
I've noticed is that there's kind of little, I don't want to say cliques, but there's little groups. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Right? But no one said, hey, man, why don't we all meet up and go
That's
do
how it
this?
was here in Dallas before before we kicked off all the bike night stuff. There was like Wes and the LTD group guys had a little clique. They were all on Dynas. You had FXR Mike and a couple homies here. You had me and Brad and a couple homies. And there was like a lot of little cliques until we put the bike night together, and then they all came together. And I remember Mike telling me, he's like, dude, like, we've all known each other online, but we never thought to go hang out with each other. We just knew each other on Instagram.
Yeah,
Existed. You know what I mean?
That's, even back in the day when it was, Maston and Harper and, Dustin and everybody, Justin and Mitch. I mean, there's just so many, but everybody's, and you know how it is. Everybody starts growing up, right? And then responsibilities kick in, and you have everybody so spread out. Really what it is the consistency and dedication to go, all right, we're going to do this on this day, whether it's once a month, every other month, whatever it is, but keep it consistent and do these rides. And, I was able to pull off two. One was a good day. One was to a bike night. That was the ride. It was traffic. It was Austin traffic. But to set them up correctly, and now that there's a facility that I could hone everybody to, right?
You have a hub, yeah.
Yeah, and just get everybody involved again. Like, if we're going to do Sunday rides, if we're going to do events at the dealership, I mean, just to be community active is really what it boils down to. I'm excited. I haven't been in this market for a long time.
But you left, essentially, and more or less became nationwide known, you know what I mean, through House of Harley and all the things that you did up there, to where, you're the people you sold bikes to is, it's a fucking long list of motherfuckers that are real.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gratitude and appreciation for all the support from every direction that made that happen. And again, at the flip end, you need the right people, which we have or had at that dealership that are still there. And they got the right people here. It's just bringing the fun, right? Yeah. I guess that's the best way to do it, man. I really, really enjoy what I do for a living. Like, it's not work to me. There are work elements, obviously, but I wake up and there's not a day where I'm like, I got to go move 20 motorcycles. Shit. It just doesn't happen. Other stresses come with the job, but when you walk into an environment where everybody loves the machine, loves the rides, loves the lifestyle, loves the culture, man, it's really hard to have a bad day, And if you go into it with that attitude every day, and I have a very creative brain, it kind of just never shuts the fuck up. I'm always trying to create some shit. Whether, I am. I'm just like, can I build another bike? Should we do a ride? Can we have a party? Can we do all of that at once? Like, it's just where my brain is, and I know where it goes, and there's times it's like I've told Jason, I know I could fucking dilute the shit out of something. That's not good.
Yeah.
Right? I know where to stop. So I think I do. But bring the fun, man. This is a grown man's fucking toy, right?
Yeah.
It's a toy that we get to have adventures and make memories on, that if you don't love it, don't be involved. But, dealerships are, there's a lot of them out there doing it the right way. And you got to realize there's a whole bunch of different right ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So
it's regional too, right?
It's regional, and you got to look at ownership. A lot of the reason I went to Milwaukee is because it was owned by a person, not a group, right? And I left, I don't want to say a group, but I left a corporation that it was just hard to get someone to believe in you, to say, hey, man, I know this will work. I'm not saying we can't do the rest of the stuff that we need to do as a Harley dealership, but I know this one works. You know, and it takes some trial and error to figure it out. And like I said, there's some shit I wish I didn't get involved in, but I did, but I learned, but now I know, right?
Yeah.
So you either hit it from a different angle or just stay away from it. But when you have ownership that believes in the machine, the culture, and the lifestyle, putting stuff out on the table and saying, hey, look, this is what this does, this is what this does. Ultimately, all it does is promote the sport and the growing of the sport, right? I'm no math major, but I'm pretty sure that's the important part of making sure you're doing good. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
as a
that's
dealership.
like I said, you're selling a hobby, you're selling a luxury, you're selling a something that people don't necessarily need in their life, and yeah, I mean it's everything is not like a overnight success in this world, especially when you're trying to bridge a gap between. People have always looked at dealerships. You see the upside down Harley Davidson bar and shills and so many different scenes and cultures and stuff. There's always like this, rebellious against daddy kind of thing. You know what I mean? But it's and I get it's an uphill battle for every dealership to connect with the new rider and the one that knows all the dirty secrets, right?
Absolutely. Well, do this. Raise your hand if you've had a bad experience in a dealership. Right?
Oh,
I remember
I
when
got
you
both
did.
mine up.
Okay. We know it happens, right?
Yeah.
But you also got to be conscious of that when you're conducting business, right?
Yeah.
You get guys that want to come in and talk about bikes but want to have their guard up the whole time.
Yeah,
Ask 'em,
yeah.
you have a bad experience somewhere? Their answer will be yeah. And you know how it is with me. I'm like, hey, man, I'm like as no bullshit as it gets. Tell me what you're trying to figure out. I'll tell you where we get. If that's possible, you're going to leave with a bike.
Yeah.
If we could get somewhere in there, you're going home with a bike because this is your dream, right? Who am I to stop that?
Yeah.
Right? As long as the equation works out and the definition of a good transaction
We got to
is-
get you right with the government first, buddy.
Yeah.
So let's get this. Yeah.
if you're happy and we're happy, that's a good transaction.
Yeah.
That means everybody did their job correctly.
I've always
So-
said, I told my wife, I was like, I always feel, I mean, I guess I'm fortunate because I know guys like you and people in the industry, but when I go buy a car, I know I'm getting fucked. Like, I know it. I'm like, I'm just ready to go get fucked, right? But at least with the bike, at least the last like 2 purchases I've had, I felt like I had more of an understanding of what's going on. I was explained to it more. It just I had a better understanding of where the money was going. And fortunately, the last one I sold one, so I was able to just buy one outright versus having to deal with like financing and shit like that. But I mean, it's a difficult thing. And I mean, when you look at that price tag, you know, like you were doing the math there, it's like you want a $25,000 bike, that's a $500 a month payment in most aspects, depending on credit and what you put down and things like that. So that's a lot of money for people to justify on a maybe. You know, for someone like me who's like, oh, dude, I want the bike. I'll pay $500 a month for it. You don't have to sell me on the lifestyle. I need this. Do you have it? Cool.
Yep. That was like the difference of the 1 bike guy to 37 bike guy.
Yeah.
2 different conversations. Mm-hmm. You know, if you explain, you need to explain. And I felt the same way going to buy cars too, because I'm like, I'm in the business of doing this, so I'll try to. I remember buying one car and I wrote down what I would do, and I said, go give that to your manager if you'd like to sell a car today. And the dude was like, what the fuck? You're going to get me fired. And I was like, I'm trying to buy a car. You're trying to sell one. I don't know. Let's figure it out. I left with the car, but I just want to be straightforward.
Yeah.
Rob, so he's the GSM up at house now. So Rob was my right hand for 5 years. And he said to me, it resonated, and I'll always remember it. I want to sell my customers like I'd want my wife to get sold something, or my grandmother to get sold something, or my mom to get sold something. And that is putting the right foot forward every time. And if you're honest with customers and you're honest, it will work, right? Everything will work out because there's no bullshit barrier, or you don't feel like you're getting fucked, or you're not doing this or going, it's just that you got to take the walls down, man. Ultimately, we're there to make profit, to keep the service department open, to fix what you are going to ride, to accessorize, to grab your clothes, to protect yourselves on the way out. But ultimately, we want to do the right thing first because we want you to be our customer. When I was a salesman, I just want to be your Harley Davidson concierge.
Yeah.
If you think about a tire, you should probably call me. If you think about a seat, if you're wondering why something's blinking, call me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting somewhere I could probably get you the answer pretty quick. You know, if you call the front desk, not saying they're not going to get you there, but I bet you I get you there faster. I bet you I get your answer faster. And if you can retain your customers with that kind of relationship and provide that service, you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
You know, it's like somebody hit me up for a part the other day. I made a phone call. I found out where they were. I can't get it for you, but here's where they are. Mm-hmm. There you go. You know, like
something, yeah.
It's something, right? Instead of him sitting there calling every dealership to figure out if they got it, I called somebody. I said, pull apart, locate on that number, tell me who's got him around this area. It was Kyle. And I said, there's one right there. He's like, it's an hour away. I was like, all right. So that's the kind of stuff that really changes perception of the customers, right? And I've heard you say it a lot. It's hard to make your friends customers, but how do you?
No, it's hard to be friends with your customers. It's,
the other way around. It's hard to make your friends customers, but it's very easy to make your customers friends, right? And I've learned that. You know, there's a lot of my friends that I don't want to deal with. I'm like, I'm good, man. You should totally, that's a great deal. Go
that route. Yeah.
Well, the way it works with the whole friendship on the way that I said it, but I forgot, is basically when you're doing this bike for them, their passion, their excitement is something that you feed into. And obviously you're also selling them like, hey, you want this paint job, you want to build this bike, blah, blah, blah. But their passion and their excitement also is infectious. It makes you want to be more involved. It makes you like remember why you love this stuff too. And so like you almost have this like the new guy and the old head come together and there's like a bond for like why we both love it, right? It gets hard though because, you know, certain friends groups turns into, you know, especially if you're like our age. We grew up in the era where if we knew somebody that worked there, we were getting the shit for fucking half off, free, or fucking at least a 10% off. Mm-hmm. And obviously that doesn't transcend into later years of life when you're, you know, I always tell my friends, it's like, you know, if I sold parts, meaning like I just had a drag specialties book and, you know, we're a good friend and you just needed this part, I don't give a fuck about making $100 on this or $20 on it, whatever it is. That's just me for my homies, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to like, hey, man, I want a helmet from you. So that's me putting 40 hours of my work week into something.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm always like, and I try to explain to them, I was like, all right, well, hey, take off work this whole week and don't get paid. Don't take vacation time off work and come sit with me in the shop and let's paint this helmet together so that you cannot make money and I cannot make money for 40 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Because we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's like I was saying, I got friends that, you know, just want to chew you up and then call somebody else and go, he'll do that. I'm like, that's fucking great, man.
Yeah. What is the whole the
Does
meme?
he got two
like,
of them? Because I've been looking for one. I don't know. You know,
those friends that won't buy a bottle of water from you for retail, but they'll pay double from the guy down the street just to prove a point.
Yeah, and you know what it is? It's and granted, there's not obviously a lot of them, but for me to be doing what I do as a career, right? Inevitably to feed my passion, right? To support my family, I have to be employed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a line, right? And I'm as honest as I get, man. I go, here's that line. That's what we could do, and I swear to God, that's the best we could do. There's no reason to lie.
Well, the difference, the growing up of the customer is what I like to say, is when the customer realizes that, look, I'm buying this Harley, I'm getting this paint job, I'm buying this helmet, period. Yep. So if it's across the board at the same level, then at that point, the buying power you have to decide where you spend that money at.
Correct.
And so, in my opinion, I think that people should consider, like, all right, well, I'm going to get a Harley. I want to support someone who's supporting the industry. Same reason why I switched to that company on your chest. Mm-hmm. Because they were involved in the industry. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather spend my money with somebody who is putting back something on the fucking table for the rest of us to eat off of.
100%.
You know, and don't get me wrong, like I can't fault anybody for taking a deal or taking a a better, financial opportunity to get a part, to get a bike or whatever. It is what it is. I'm never gonna be like, you should have spent $500 more with my friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it's not a difference in price, or if it's a difference in price that's minuscule, is it better to have this relationship with this guy that is not going to care, or are you also paying for the relationship within this world? 100%. I used to tell people, like, this is probably not going to go over well with people that my ego or whatever, but I used to tell people, like, man, if I do a paint job for you, I can put you on the map. And it's the truth. Like, I paint your bike, and the next thing you know, everybody's following you, and you got this, and you got this. And it's like, I'm not allowed to say that, but it's the truth, in a lot of aspects. And so, when those dealerships or not dealerships, but like those shops wanted to, like, hey, man, I'm thinking about having you paint the bike. I'm like, well, let me know when you're done thinking. Yeah. Like, I don't fucking, you know what I mean?
Well, it's the same thing. If I get someone, man, I'm thinking about buying a bike from you, I'm like, okay, let me know when you're ready, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at it.
We'll talk. You're going to get, like, I've always felt like this. Like, and I have a buddy right now he used to ride my bike club with me back in the day, and he's kind of getting back into motorcycles. He's like, man, I want to get a bike. I say, hey, I got a buddy. He's waiting on this job to pay him. But then, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I told him, I was like, look, I don't know what kind of deal you're going to get because I don't know your situation. But I do know that if there's a used bike available, that he's going to find you the best one. If there's a new bike available, he's going to figure out what's the best opportunity for you. Now, and I also said this, like, look, don't get it twisted. This is business. Everybody has to fucking make money.
Yeah.
Right? There's no free bikes going around, especially if you're nobody. Like, you think you are Jason Momoa? You know what I mean? So,
fans, bro.
Yeah. So there's like this aspect that, like, people got to understand that, like, even us, even me, even Justin, even Jeremy at Lucky Strike, all the homies that's bought bikes from you over the last couple of years, they all made money for you, right? They weren't free bikes. They weren't cost bikes. They were supporting somebody that supports them.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's what it is. That's 100% what it is. Because you know what? When Jeremy bought a bike, Henry bought a bike. And it's just that's all it is, man. The more I could help, I'm always going to help. Just, come on.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. It's, fuck, dude, it's not a bad spot to be in, and it's the love over the last 2 years is blew my mind.
Yeah, but you put something on the table. This is my analogy, and I had a couple already, but my analogy is always this. And I wish, I'm wearing this hot bag.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. I'm wearing this hot bike hat for a reason, because I want people to listen to that podcast we did. I want people to realize that if we want things in this industry, if we want our scene to be better, if we want opportunities, we want to see bike events, bike shows, dealerships that are fucking rad, you have to fucking put something on the table.
It's a garden, like you guys were saying.
Yeah.
Like, you have to water it. You have to go and put it back into it. Like, this stuff doesn't just keep happening without money.
Exactly.
I mean, money, investment, like personal investment. And so if it's your life and your passion, then you have to know that you're going to have to spend money to keep that going. I mean,
I feel like a lot of us, if you're not in the industry, maybe just on the scene side of things or the culture side of things, you might not look at it as in this big conglomerate of putting something back in. But when you look at, like, Jordan at Hotbike, I was explaining to you guys, he's our age.
Yeah.
He's fucking hungry. He wants to bring this magazine back for our fucking generation of motorcycling, right? He wants to bring it back for us. He's our age. He's us, and we can hold him accountable because of the way the world works now. It's not the Bonnier Corporation that we had no contact with. If he starts putting out stupid shit in his magazine, we call him out on it.
And he's going to hear about it.
And he changes it.
Yes.
As opposed to before, there was no control in that. So, in my opinion, it's the same thing that works. Like, on my podcast, when people start not listening to it, I know I need to change something, right? Because I see the analytics. I know when it's up and down. I'm like, all right, what I've been doing here isn't working. It's not resonating. I need to change. So the viewership is what changes my direction based on whether or not people are happy or not, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing in everything. If your bike sales are up, things are working, events are taking place, there's people showing up to it, it happens. What Lyndal and Cowboy is putting together this event this weekend is putting something on the table for people to fucking eat on.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And I wish people... I don't even want to say that. No, it's not. It's nothing bad. It's not. not even just consumers. I wish more businesses took more pride in this industry and put something on the table for everybody else and just took, right? When we did this, you know, just everything, you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to take the opportunities. They don't want to create the opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about how much money flows through this business and you see certain guys that have certain things that's grown their business certain levels, you're stoked for them. They fucking figured it out. They make badass products. They do good things. But then you also see like, fuck, man, like that dude doesn't invest anything back into the motorcycle industry that he makes all his money on.
Yeah.
He doesn't sponsor anything. He doesn't host any events. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He's just there it's a fucking hungry hippo game. He's just taking it all and not putting anything back out there. And when I talk about that with people, they, you know, there's certain business guys that would probably debate me and say like, why should he? What do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hit me with that. And I get it. Like,
they throw
hey,
spreadsheets at you
No, yeah.
justify those actions based on these numbers.
To be honest, the simple answer is to keep them coming, right?
Exactly.
From a business standpoint.
Yeah.
But the real honest, like heartful answer is because you actually love what you're doing.
yeah.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that's
the
where
passion behind it.
I think that's where you see that the difference in those people, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about downstairs. There are companies that are eating well and going buying these fucking race boats.
Yeah.
Right? Is he a motorcycle guy? Right? And it relates back to the same thing I was saying. Who do you want to buy your bike from? A motorcycle guy? Do you want to buy medical equipment from me? Like, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Body.
yeah, hey, look, check this thing out. You know, like, it's one
You
of the,
need knives?
yeah,
Scalpels?
So it's one of those that, you know, the takers, there's two things, right? You either don't love what you're doing, you're only in it for the money and you're greedy, right? The guys who go out and support, and I mean, how many events do you make a year? Like, it's insane. Like every time I talk to you, like, all right, here's what I'm about to do. And it ain't nothing really ever, you know, here. You're like, when I get back, I need to nail out all this shit before I go here.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're going out, supporting, and bringing, you know, people to these microphones.
Yeah, I'm actually. I don't want to bitch. I don't want to complain because you know, maybe these guys that I'm reaching out to do podcasts with are just listening for the first time. But I'm putting together an Iowa trip right now to go do podcasts with some people that I've been following. I'm big fans of that are, you know, big time dudes in my eyes at least. And God damn, it's pulling teeth.
Yeah.
I'm like, in one sense, I'm like, dude, like, I'm about to drive up there on my own dime. I just spent all this money on camera equipment to take on the road to do a video podcast outside of here to create a better experience for my listeners. And
on the other hand, you're going, you're from fucking Iowa! You're in Iowa! Jesus fucking Christ, I'm coming to you!
Who goes to Iowa? I mean,
Hello!
like,
Am I
I live there. I live
Iowa! Fuck!
I didn't say it. I didn't say it,
But yeah, sorry, that's how I would feel.
there. You're not wrong. I mean,
no, they're badass dudes. But I mean, our podcast, especially if you like click on my Instagram page for the first time and you're a chopper guy, you're not going to feel like I understand anything about your world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
And then a lot of people are not going to understand that I'm also I'm a craftsman in this world. I'm a painter. I airbrush. I do all these things. Right. So there's not like this. Like they click on my page, oh, this dude does this, you know, see me as some kind of equal in some kind of form or fashion, right? But like I said, I want to. We've been leaning a lot into content creators, photographers, and things the last couple of months. And that's just kind of honestly been because of what's available, like the people that are available to come through and talk. And it's like I've been wanting to get back into more shops and how'd you start and when did you learn how to weld and all these things. And that world is kind of like in its own world, and so like going back out and reaching into it and trying to get the opportunity to sit down with some of these guys has been a pain in the ass, you know, because you know I'm putting together a trip where on Monday I'm here, on Tuesday I'm here, and we're talking about Kansas, Iowa, the other side of Iowa, St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri. Like I've got to go here, do a podcast, drive 5 fucking hours or 300 miles to this other place, set up, do a podcast, different day. Get a hotel in every place. I don't know anybody out there. Get a hotel here. Then go to the other side of Iowa, do a podcast with these guys, and share like who they are to the world. And you know what? These guys are rightfully badasses in their own world, 100%, right? And they have their own following. And I just hope that maybe whatever following I have that doesn't know about these people, they benefit from that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like maybe I have the attention of a generation that didn't grow up around that style of chopper building or these craftsmen, and I just want to expose them. That's all I want to do.
You
right?
end up exposing them to a guy that lives 20 miles from him.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. That's the power and the magic of your show.
And you know what? These guys might not need the work. That's the other thing is like a lot of these skilled builders are booked for years. Like it's not that they need work, but at that point it's like, man, like your legacy.
Yeah.
You're fucking like an accomplished builder in the motorcycle industry. Like you might inspire the next guy like you, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. 100%. So it's also one of those things where I tell people it's like, I've always said this, and I say this about myself because I don't know what my life looks like in 10 years, and I don't know where I'll be in the motorcycle industry. I could be right here still. You know what I mean? But I've always said this: I will do anybody's podcast that asks me to do it, whether I'm their first episode or their 500th. I don't care, because I still owe it to the industry and to anybody that wants to get up to be helpful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. I look at that like, well, and I guess that could get overwhelming if every dude in every podcast in the world's like, let me call you. I got 5 podcasts this week. I got to tell my life story again. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's not so much that. It's just that like when it was a magazine calling these people, it was no big deal. Yeah. And those magazines, back in the day, they were tucked between big dick pill ads and fucking Harbor Freight ads. So it was never like resonating with customers. As opposed to like, I'm coming to your shop with thousands of dollars in equipment, videoing you, asking you how you started, telling your life story on microphones in the highest quality available for me, at least in a podcast space. And you want to give me a hard time, dude? Like, yeah, trying to fucking like move the needle on all this further. You know what I mean?
Different strokes for different folks, man. I get it, but the power and the magic that you bring to the industry, there's tons of stuff that I'm like, who the fuck is this? And follow, and then I educate myself, and then I'm like, damn, this shit is fucking badass, or whoever it might be. That's the magic you bring, bro.
I appreciate that.
It's like I was saying earlier, we need to get your goddamn bus and, traveling fucking podcast studio. He's like, I don't want none of that shit. And I was like, well, I'm telling you, man, like,
hey, if it's a bus and a gas card, then we're talking.
Yeah. So it's one of those, but you're moving the needle in all things motorcycle. You really are. You're inspiring people to ride. You're inspiring people to build. You're inspiring people to come together to create communities of motorcycle. I mean, that's a huge influence. That's from throwing it together and fucking getting out, and heading west and starting where you started. You've changed lives throughout the whole thing. You 100% have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You were a huge influence in the success we had in Milwaukee, right? You were a huge influence in the success I had in Austin, right? And it's just taking care of each other and keeping the ecosystem of this industry together. It's like I was talking to Justin when Jetty was down. So last week, Justin, you work there yet? And I was like, it's coming. And he's like, let me talk to him, and it's just one of those where it's the support. And to be honest, I've talked to Justin in person probably 3 times.
Yeah.
But we're constantly in contact.
It's low energy talk.
Yeah.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, but, it's one of those where I support what he does. He supports me wherever I am. And that's the key to success for the whole.
Yeah. So that's honestly, and I'm not trying to take any credit for this, but when I came off the back end of the big world in that industry, it was so cutthroat. And we talked about it a lot in the early podcast. It was just like everybody was fucking everybody over, and everybody was like just trying to steal customers from each other. It was just like a very, very toxic place in motorcycle culture, right? Or industry culture, right? And the goal has always been about making everybody cool with each other. So you're still going to get a couple customers that'll bounce back and forth trying to oh, where's the better deal, blah, blah, blah. But if everybody's so cool that even when somebody has a problem, they keep it chill.
Yep.
They don't fucking they work it out on somewhere else. It's not blown up on social media. It's not like this polarizing thing where it's like fuck this guy. And so how we've managed to do that for the last 5 years blows my mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only blow up we had was the MJK shit.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see where that went.
Yep. I was going to
Gone.
text you. I just left it alone. I was like, he's seen this. Why I got
Yeah.
text to him.
And I mean, honestly, nobody, and I'm not talking about the products that they made. I'm talking about the demeanor that he carried.
No.
Right? When he did the shit with us on the podcast and then fucking, ghosted and then tried to call me out and say I was a bad person because I had someone on the podcast that he didn't like. You know what I mean? And then he turned around and talk all the shit about Boosted Brad, and then he stole all the parts from San Diego Customs. And it's like this dude was just toxic, and the industry saw it, and then they pushed him out.
Yeah.
I mean, he still was there, but it's his own doing, man. You know what I mean?
He created his own circle.
Yeah.
That's your own now.
And there was those guys that would, like they fucked with him because they had the money and he catered to them. But the thing about like this is that like not everybody that comes to you and follows your brand can afford what you have yet. But you still got to fucking be there for them because one day they might.
Dude, you see my garage right now, and I'm going to do this bike build. Everybody who has supported me over the last however many years,
Yeah.
I try to go right back to them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's one Harley part on the bike. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's why. Because same thing, when somebody goes, what's that? Or the bike's parked at the dealership. It's very easy to take someone over a bike and go, here, look, what do you love? What do you hate?
Yeah.
Right? And you need those. And I like having them. And it's, like Pisani, they've treated you well.
Yeah.
I listened to the podcast. It was great to listen to. So there's a Pisani going on this Road Glide, right? Honestly, because of the relationship you build with them,
Yeah.
and listen to that podcast, the respect and the longevity that Daryl's put back into this industry.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm putting a Pisani.
Jaden was sitting in that podcast with us, man. Like just his passion for this, and it was displayed in the podcast that we did with him.
100%.
It's like fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like
the shit he knew, the shit he talked about, how long he's been doing it, and how hands on he is. Actually, to be honest, I have a Pisani on Goldie too.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm good. That's the one I'm going to run on this. And, whether it's, Curtis or Robbie or Justin, I mean, I got a little bit of everybody going on this thing. Yeah. And it's, it's one of those. You got to give. You can't just take, is really what it boils down to. And, as long as everybody keeps that mentality, this can continue.
yeah.
It's like we were talking about that yellow mob, that will phase out, man. And next thing you know,
Thanks, bud.
we'll be sitting there, black T-shirts. So, but
Dyed beards,
yeah,
looking like Justin.
of course. Look at that shit. So,
Well, I mean, I think just fucking up over there, huh?
just idling.
When I think Jade might be able to test this. When you start traveling this country, and you start landing in Missoula, Montana, and Drew comes out and the homie, and next thing you know, it's a fucking party out there, and you just, I don't know, man. Like, there's something about motorcycles that if you start getting out of your local fucking 2-mile radius that you hang out in, they're so rewarding.
It shows you how genuine
you earn it. You
life
earn
really
it though.
is.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you got to be a little bit more vulnerable online. And be like, hey man, I'm coming through. Little Rock. What's going on? And then Wheelo reaches out. Hey, we're at fucking Hard Riders and blah blah blah. And next thing you know, you're like crashing some dude's house and sleepwalking in his old lady's room. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, Juan, honestly, to give this dude a shout out. He made the effort. He rode here.
I remember that.
He did the podcast with one of the best podcasts I think this year, and then rode home the next day. Almost did a complete. I think he might even did a complete here to San Diego from here, and just honest and real. And he's been an ambassador for San Diego ever since. And he probably was before this, but at least I know for a fact that he's been since then, because maybe it's just because I've been paying more attention to it.
Yeah, and you opened up how many eyes to who he is.
Yeah.
Right. So
seen him on the Two Lane Life's podcast
Yep.
recently, or their lives they do, and he was once again opening up on that. He's been very open. He's been opening up about certain things with military stuff.
yeah, helicopter violated at one point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, like what he's been going through, and it's like that's the kind of vulnerability that we all had to put up. We all had to be that way at some point to kind of like be accepted. You know what I mean? Like we all had to get the courage to go to that first bike night or that
Yeah,
first camp out or
you
that
gotta be
first industry
uncomfortable to
party.
grow, man.
You know what I mean?
You got to be uncomfortable to grow, and that's in every aspect. Every aspect of life. To be honest, if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's the pressure or the situation or something. But that's that. I watched him actually ride out here. Was it like a Black Limited or something he had bought?
Yep.
Right.
I think, yeah.
It's a street glide.
Street glide.
Street Glide. He just put lowers on it. Okay.
He was trying to go to bat for the street glide community, but
Kind of bars
I think
it.
it kind of fell flat on its face a little bit.
You know, I keep looking at him, and I keep like,
There was only one street glide that came out recently that I was like, it looked good, and that was that. I can't remember what company it was, but it kind of had that what do they call those iconic series look, but it was like carbon. It was all
oh, I
performance.
see.
back.
So it was the Duo Glide, the electric glide redone. Kept the white bags, did a carbon fiber front fender.
Should look good.
Oh,
I thought it
the
looked good.
Space Ghost one?
It was.
Was it Space
Yeah,
Ghost?
Space Ghost just did
Olin's
that.
inverted front.
Yep.
Yeah, I did see.
It was
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
looking
last
bike,
week.
man. I was like, God damn.
Wade and Freddie.
It definitely changed the
Jimmy
look of the
Mack.
bike.
Yeah, those guys did a good build.
You think that FXR community would be mad if I put a street glide fairing on an FXR?
Wow. Only if it's on a chopped FXR. No, yeah. Well,
Yeah, you're gonna piss
Some
them
dude will
all, piss them
blow his
all
head
the way
out.
off. Yeah.
no, I'm only fucking around.
Joe Kidd he'll never talk to me again.
It's I don't know, man. The Batwing. I had a Batwing. I didn't hate it, but it's I don't know. There's just something. I still like an RT fairing on a touring bike.
Oh, yeah.
It was my plan for my next build, and then I just bought an ST because
Yeah.
like it was there and
Made an adult decision.
it had
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fairing. I was like, it has a fairing. Why do I need to buy that one without it, and then buy the fairing and make Chase's life miserable because he hates painting
Fuck
RT
painting those
fairings? So I was like, I'll just buy that one. So
Painting a ST fairing wasn't bad at all. That was a much nicer situation.
the new lowrider ST,
Yeah. Yeah.
not as bubbly or
Well,
Yeah,
no, because
it's
they're
because of the
two
line.
piece.
oh okay,
Oh, okay.
So you're not like painting an inner and outer at the same time.
gotcha.
Where it's like just the amount of clear. Because I mean, the way I paint, like I have to, if I'm going to clear the outer part, I have to clear the inner part. So when you're sanding that down, you're sanding the outer and the inner. It's a fucking like 3-hour process just to sand that fairing.
Yeah, and
You
depending
know?
on which one you get, they're all, especially if you got lowers that have little ripples in them, and
Yep.
that's like who's doing one? Is it Jake's bike or his wife? His wife. She's
Jake's wife, they're doing the ST build. I
Carbon
think the
fiber.
Barbie build or something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the inside, I think she or Jeremy or somebody was telling me that they want to smooth out the inside.
Yeah, we did that on Chance's bike.
Is that just sanding or just
You got to primer it.
okay?
It's kind of like the same thing on the ST or the Sport Glide bags. Sport Glide bags, like to call them.
The inside of them.
The inside, you have to smooth them out and like literally like just sand the fuck out of the plastic smooth, put primer on it, and then repaint it. That way, it's nice and smooth.
Gotcha.
Do you
It's
have
a lot
to-
of work.
Are you like, sorry, this is like my like wannabe painter stuff, but so you go and sand it down, hit it with like 2K, build it up, and then are you having to go and like hit it with like the freaking guide coat and wet sand on top of that?
I mean, the guide coat just helps you know when you're done. But
Okay.
yeah, you pretty much got to sand it back down smooth and then paint it. That way,
Okay.
it won't have all the texture in it. And I thought that, you know, when I painted Chance's bike, I thought that the inner fairing, because the texture is very like tight and small, I thought it could be like wet sanded and then just base coated over. And no, it had to be primered.
Did he keep that bike?
No, he sold it like he put 10K miles on it. I guarantee you faster than anybody else in America.
100%.
And then sold it. And then he just called me yesterday. He's like, you got any leaks on what's coming out in January? I was like, I think it's just the ST 131s. That's it. Maybe a paint job.
I only know what you post, man.
yep.
So
That's
yeah,
it.
I talked to him.
Yeah, I wonder if my guy at Harley still works there.
I talked to Chance right around 11,000 miles. And I forgot what he was thinking. But
I think he wanted a road glide. Chance just gets bored with bikes quick, which is understandable because he'll put a lot of money in them real quick, get him where he wants it. And then it's like, I think our whole group in general, they've struggled. James, his blue Sport Glide is, I think, around 50,000 miles. Yeah. I think that Cody, Big Will Cody's bike is at damn near 50-something thousand miles. And I think Cody's leaning into wanting to do something new soon.
We talked about something in Milwaukee because that's exactly what I asked him, is how many miles he has, because I know how you all ride.
That's the problem, man. Like when I tell people, it's like, don't get me wrong. Like I have the bike that I bought newish, and I'm at 25,000 miles, right? Basically a year, a little bit over a year.
But that was a slow year for you because you had so many hiccups with the bike just sat for a while.
Well, yeah, it sat from October until April.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but I'm still at 25,000 miles in a year.
Yeah, on and off year.
So
yeah, that's
it. It's one of those situations where I feel like I should sell the bike just because there's low enough miles that someone else can enjoy it more, or continue to put more miles on it because, right now I'm like, well, we're going to refresh the whole bike anyway, period. But at the same time, it's like trips again, like it'll be another 10, it'll be 35,000 miles by the end of 2023.
Yeah.
If not,
maybe you should wait till after January.
I mean, I don't know. There's always like a weird situation.
I'll be honest. I crush no miles because I've crushed more miles being off for the last 70 days than I have in the last year. Well, one, because of back surgery. But even last year in 21, it's inevitable. I'm in a dealership for 11 to 12 hours a day, typically 6 days a week. And, here now I'll get 2 days off, which will be nice, and I'm home. My schedule in Milwaukee was like 6 days a week for 3 weeks. It depended on holidays on how I lined it up, but then I was home for like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I was home longer. But the last thing I wanted to do is like fly home and go, hey, I'm going to go ride, It probably wouldn't have went over well. There was some times I did if the bike was home or whichever bike it was. But, now that I get more into a consistent, schedule and being home and making sure everything's covered, it's like, okay, that's why I'm building a road glide. Like, I want to ride distances. And after back surgery, I could probably get up in here a bunch of times on a Dyna, but I'm probably not going past Dallas on a small bike.
Well, I feel like, unfortunately, like we kind of glorify the concept of riding miles and putting things on there because I think that's the pinnacle that most of us want to achieve on motorcycles that are interested in that. But, the people that work in dealerships, the people that work inside the motorcycle industry, whether they're small shops, big shops, whatever, like your contribution to the motorcycle movement is still heavy. You might not be on the saddle. It might be in another form. Yeah. So it's one of those situations where like a dude that wakes up and goes to sleep every day with motorcycles on his mind and in his face all day, I can't say that he's less of an enthusiast than me because I've structured my life to be able to put miles on bikes.
Yeah, but it's one of the it's one of those wants. It's like, man, I really love to get out and take a fucking 2-week trip. When? Right?
2-week trips? Yeah. We're over that shit. We're about these month-long trips.
Yeah. Like, when is that possible?
We're like 2 years away from being homeless on bikes, just living like Scooter Tramp Scotty, dude.
I think I did that for a few months when I first started with Lyndal. Yeah. I think I was like, I woke up in a few parking lots in California, and I'm not joking.
Fit right in.
Good times.
Can I borrow this?
He's all sleepwalking in Walmart.
Be honest, there's
been Bath and Beyond in like the queen size bed section. I'm like,
there's been weeks where you're 60-hour work week on Sunday. It was like, you want to ride? I'm like, no, I didn't want to hear a fucking bike start tomorrow. Like, I need that reset day.
Yeah.
But now it's get back on a real routine. That my back injury last year it was like popped a bubble. It was like my fucking world stopped.
Yeah.
It was like, no, I didn't ride from September 1st, 21 till June of 22. I didn't even get on a bike. And then I rode in June, and it hurt. It was one of those, like, my body ain't ready yet. And,
I took 6 years off.
You riding?
From when I mean, like, legit, like, I had a back injury back when I was a diesel mechanic. And I tried to ride. I had to go and sell my bike. And, I mean, it was 6 years before I got back onto a bike. Yeah. And my back was at a place where I could act. And, I mean, now, by the grace of God, I'm here slamming miles.
My chiropractor says, man, it's better if you could be on your bike, be on your bike. Because then you're on something instead of sitting in something.
Yeah. And,
I'm like, okay, I'll try anything. Anybody tells me at this point, I'm like, I'm in. They come out with this, I'm buy it. Yeah, try that shit. Whatever it takes. But riding.
What do you have to take it anally?
No, I'm out. I'm completely out.
Look, just put this in your butt, and your back won't hurt anymore.
Dude, I used to get these shots
like a plug
right into my tailbone.
Oh my God.
I take that butt stuff preventatively. My back doesn't even hurt, but just in case it does, go ahead and give me 2.
I read the label.
Put
it
2
makes
up there.
sense. I mean, come on, it says it. Yeah, I used to get spinal injections right into my tailbone.
Yeah, damn.
Oh gosh.
Oh, dude, every 6 months. Like, I band-aided that shit because I'm, athlete's mentality. I'm like, can you fix it? Like, yeah, sure, do it.
Yeah.
Go. All right, see how I pointed?
Okay. I like it.
Just go, bro.
So
The old athlete deflection move.
I'll give it to one time. So I'd pay to get knocked out. Like, I'm good. You're sticking a thing in my spine. I'm okay with paying to sleep. There was one time I flew home, and the guy's like, man, if you can't be here on Wednesday, there's no anesthesiologist. And I was like, so then what? He goes, I'll give you something to calm you down. I was like, what? So I took this shot fucking awake, right? I don't know. They gave me like a dummy down Xanax or something.
Epidural or some shit?
Dude, they're going into your spine to shoot steroids in there to break down the swelling of your, nerves. I have a bunch of bullshit done in my back that's fucking, one day I'll be a track guy. Performance track, but I'll be a track guy. But it's bad, dude. And then the one time I remember them knocking me out, and the lady goes, try not to move. And I was like, what? I was like, you're knocking me out, right? She's like, yeah, subliminally. I'm looking at her, I'm like, if I could control that, I'd just take my pain away. And the next thing you know, I was out cold and I woke up and I'm like, what do you mean don't move? Like, stop fucking with me. Like, it's...
Yeah.
But,
that's a scary thing. I mean, for me, like, in the last 10 years of my life is when I really fell in love with traveling on bikes. And, like, if that was taken away from me because I couldn't ride anymore, like, I've been watching these series on YouTube a lot, Epically Latered by Vice, and it's like they've been going down the rabbit hole of a lot of ex-skaters.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the skaters from the 90s, like after the Tony Hawk Pro Skater and then the boom of all that, dude, I watched some even that Tony Hawk documentary on HBO was fucking good.
Yeah.
I watched one on BAM today.
Oh, I've been watching clips of him. I feel bad.
Man. So it was like this thing. It's like, that could easily spiral into like depression and shit by not being able to have that one thing that gives you
Joy
and just purpose.
But it's part of that escape at the same time. There's just, legitimately, like
100%.
the physiology of like adrenaline junkies, like that's a real thing also.
You know what's crazy? I don't think that like my addiction to riding bikes is about the adrenaline. Because I'm kind of desensitized to local riding or just random, like, let's go to Austin. Like, I don't really, I'd rather drive. But that high of knowing that we're about to be on the road for 2 weeks or a month or a fucking week, like, is insanely, like, addictive. You know what I mean?
So I have a confession. Mm-hmm. So, like, this past year, I slammed like 35,000 miles, 100% solo. I've done little group rides, but I've never gotten to experience like that, where like you're just with like a group of your homies and you're just like, next week we're just gonna just go. Like that's something I've never gotten to do.
These time frames are so small. They're so small in your life that like I can almost think back and remember every moment of that day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm right now in my head, I'm thinking about the day that me and Jaden left John Teller's house and we rode across the sea of Mormon crickets.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like just this whole day is in my head, like Taco Bell for lunch. We went to Virginia City to check that out. Had a beer there. Then went to Brian TBJ's house. Had some shitty Mexican food in Reno. Sorry, Brian.
Past the gas station where I was like, ooh, I should stop. We rolled got about 4 miles on the road. It was like, last gas is that way. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I got to go back. But yeah, dude, that was an awesome day of traveling.
Yeah.
Just from
400 mile day, man. And so you just get to these points where it's like these little small things. It's like, and you know what? It's not that it's better than like anything I've ever done with my wife or my kids or anything like that. It's just that like there's something about being free on an open road and not having responsibilities that you don't, you have at home, right? Mm-hmm. You just literally feel like I don't know the right word to describe it, but you just feel like you're doing something. You're in a different dimension than the rest of the world.
Yeah, 100%.
In touch with your soul. Is what it becomes, because that's everything I felt on long rides. Was once you become one with that bike, and
it's for me, it's not even the bike. It's literally the world that you're living in. They're on a page and we're on a page, but ours is like a tracing paper. It's see-through.
Oh yeah, it
our
takes
world's
like a higher consciousness.
Yeah,
to an extent. And
we're doing something that they can't do right now.
And this is kind of a weird spot, but like the point for me was being somebody that was I've always loved bikes. Like I was this little kid that, like you were talking about, like that first Harley Davidson experience.
Yeah.
I can still remember. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my family had this little station wagon. We got rear-ended, and I'm never gonna forget this. But I can remember hearing this sound, and I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I look over, and I see this green Softail. This is back in the '80s. I see this bike go through the intersection, and I was just like, whoa. And like, I mean, and here I am, 38 years old, and I saw some random dude on a bike. And then growing up, knowing that like my grandpa and my dad, my aunt, my uncle, like everybody rode. I never saw them on a bike, but there's all this stuff that happened in my life that just kind of took me down that path. And yeah, I mean, everything, just the community that has been established through that. But yeah, for somebody that was really not in the industry at all, I mean, I had no idea, but I just loved to ride.
Yeah.
My first bike was a 1981 Honda CB 400T Hawk. I bought it for $450.
Dude. You're a cafe racer.
was it 79?
Coffee drinking.
But before you move on too much, as far as when you see a little kid now, whether you're in town, do you go nuts? Do you just whatever? Like, especially if he or she is sitting there showing a little enthusiasm and they're waving they want you to do it.
I was headed out to Arkansas, and I was actually going up to ride with Wheelo and the Club Sal Arkansas guys.
Absolutely.
So Wheelo.
Yeah. Yes. And I stopped in Conway, Arkansas, and there's some little kid who's sitting in his little minivan, and his mom's like, hey, can he look at your bike? And I picked this little kid up, and I put him on the seat. And like exactly what you're talking about, man. Like because I still remember some random bike that went by. And so like if I can give that to somebody else, because I know how much this has helped me in my life. Yeah. And just giving me that outlet. And so yes, like 100%. When you see that little kid, you're like revving it up or something, or letting them go and sit on the bike or whatever that is, man.
That's even more special if it's at a place where the bike's already parked and they can sit
on
it.
Yeah.
I see it all the time where you're rolling through and maybe some kid's on the corner with his mom holding a hand, or it's in downtown and they're going to brunch and just little kids, just the eye opening as they watch you.
Yeah.
You just got to pull in that clutch and give it.
It's a real thing, man. I mean, it's, I don't know. Boys and their toys.
You never know, right? I mean, and this is like did this guy take a gram of mushrooms? But on the lowest level, if that's the least you can do, if you see some little kid, you can do that, and like
you can make their day.
You see, fuck that, you can make their
life.
Here I am, you just said
38 years old, and I'm racing Harleys.
You're in with some green Softail that you don't know what the fuck, but something that's stuck in your memory. If 100%. You can do something like that, and that's the least you can do. I've had times where, like I said, Kyle and I have been downtown and let a kid sit on the bike, and you said let him pull on it. And dude, if you ever get that chance, obviously I feel like anybody that listens to this is probably in the same boat. Like, yeah, dude, of course you let the little guy do his thing.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about, man. It's the next generation.
And I really feel like Harley, you know, and you've got a lot more insight on this than I do, but I feel like Harley has just done a better job recently about doing things to reach out to, like, I mean, there was some of that stuff with the gravity games where, like, I'm an old snowboarder. I used to live up north. And so that used to be, like, that was my first thing that I, like, really got into. That was more extreme and all that. But Harley tried with the gravity games for a while, doing the little,
They built like a street 750.
Yeah.
It was a cool concept.
It was really cool. I mean, fuck, I
Yeah,
want
but
one.
Harley never saw the fact that, like, this is what I mean about connecting to the culture and having, like, boots on the ground kind of people. Like, they never saw the skateboard culture that migrated to the chopper culture
Yes.
the way that it happened.
Correct.
Yes.
Which also inspired, like, the Born Frees and the one shows and the Mama Trieds, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see that.
Yeah.
They're out, how do we get young people on bikes? And then, like, this whole skateboard culture comes over. They should have they should have been sponsoring skate riders and shit like this.
Imagine
Like-
if Tony Hawk had a barn shield on his shirt. I mean, it'd probably go a long way. Just
How
saying.
was there not a Harley dirt bike?
Well,
like a legitimate dirt bike that could have gone in and actually started bringing in
I've
kids?
asked
That-
that question.
That's always been my biggest thing
How-
too. As
that's
a kid,
been my biggest question.
Yeah, growing up from motocross,
Yeah.
y'all touched on it earlier in the podcast about the illusion of Harleys. When you're young, you
Yeah.
don't really know, and that was always the illusion. Harleys, that's the old rich guy's bike. That's
Yeah.
for the dentist and the whatever. There was, at least in my cognitive perspective, there was no performance. Like, I didn't. Harleys were slotted into that one category.
Yeah, until
When I wanted
TV.
a bike, when I thought about
Say.
wanting a bike on the street, I wanted a Yamaha. I wanted a street bike. You know what I mean? That's what. And it wasn't. I wasn't trying to race anybody, but that was
Dude,
just.
I'm a product of Rough Riders, dude.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
That was the cool shit.
Stop.
That's what I. Yeah.
Fucking playing in my head as you said it, bro.
that was what was cool. Harleys were not cool to the guy that was born in '84 to whatever the fuck, throw a few years on each end of that age
Yep.
range. There was nothing there. Harley in the right here behind, that didn't apply to me. That was too old for me. That none of that growing up was.
Yeah, but fucking Tom
Badass.
Cruise and fucking that, and then Biker Boys, and then for me, like when
Those
I
are
was
all jet
21
bikes.
years old, like it was Biker Boys, and as goofy as Torque was, kind of like the magazine, it was still it was still a joke.
Like we said, we've said it multiple times. Sons of Anarchy was the first thing that made Harleys cool. And
Yeah.
I was never set tripping going, oh, dude, all of a sudden, I want to be an outlaw. No. But at least there was some, it's cool. Fuck, I don't have to do all that shit.
Yeah.
But what that is, that's bad. And maybe I can meet some friends and we don't have to match. And that would be badass. But that was the first fucking time. Other than that,
Well, yeah. So I've done these podcasts with people, and even like conversations with people outside of it, in different parts of the country. Harley had, or like choppers or scenes had a bigger impact on younger people. And, here in Dallas, like, it didn't resonate with us. We've always had a pretty big sport bikes community here. Mm-hmm. And that's what, like, appealed to us. The same way, like, in the car culture, which I'm not trying to go deep down that, but in the car culture, right? I grew up in an age where import cars were famous and they were obtainable.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
The WS6 Trans Am, that was not obtainable for me but that fucking Nissan 240 that's been sitting in the junkyard
Exactly.
was obtainable.
Yep.
The same way, like when the people tell me about how they got into the choppers, this bike was obtainable. I'm like, I didn't even know you can get a Harley for $2,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I met FXR Mike, he blew my mind on so many different levels because he tapped into a part of the Harley culture that I never knew existed, right? He showed me, like, yeah, you can build FXRs and shovel heads and choppers for fucking $3,000 if you just have patience and you're ready to buy when you see it. And I'm like, what? I never knew that.
I didn't either. I wouldn't have bought all the shit I did. I didn't either. I tripped and fell into it, man. It was like my first vision of Harleys was in New York. I had an uncle, not really an uncle, a family friend. He was like my mom's godson, but he was an angel. And it was, when they came over to say hello, it was like, God dang, I'll never forget it. 86 FXRS. I talked to him like 8 years ago too. He passed on, but I said that was in '86 FXRS. Where is it? So I know the guy who's got it, but it's one of those like, do I need another project? But it's one of those since he passed on, it'd be nice. But that was my first Harley moment when I was younger, and I grew up in Queens.
Okay, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I did. It was Queens, then Hempstead, then more towards the beach. My mom knew somebody who worked at a body shop, and I never forget the smell of Bondo. It always reminds me of that moment in my life, and I was probably like 3 or 4. How I remember it is beyond me. But he had a Kawasaki.
I heard it. Get back on the mic. Do it again. This means 2-stroke gas. Yeah, dude, I won't get enough. I can never get enough.
Is this legal? This ain't legal, right?
That was it. No. It was a Kawasaki. I remember them putting on me, and I put me on the bike. And then I remember the joke, as I grew up, was say Kawasaki, because I guess apparently at 4 or whatever I was, I couldn't say it. But that was it. That was when I left New York, I told him, I'm going to Texas to do something with motorcycles. She goes, what is that? I'm fucking dumb. And I got on a train.
You got a train here?
Dude, I got on a train in Long Island, took it to Penn Station, and took an Amtrak.
I was going to say, you got to be on that Amtrak. I used to be that
Austin. But when you leave Penn Station, the first stop is Buffalo. So you're going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Then you come back down to Chicago, you transfer, then you start heading south.
Yeah.
So it was like 2.5 days to get here or there.
I want to do that. That sounds fun as hell.
It's so much fun. Dude. It's so much fun.
It was fun. I got kicked out of a bunch of like the rooms because I was like, I'm going to go try to steal a room. No one's in them.
They used to have smoking cars on the Amtrak.
Dude, so
can't you bring your own booze on there?
Fucking...
No. So here's a fun. I was drinking at the time, so here's another story. I'm like, how do I bring weed on an Amtrak through Penn Station right after 9/11?
Yeah.
My mom's cool as shit. She's like, I'll show you. So anyway, I get on the thing and I go to the bar and, grab a beer and sit down. And you tell this guy next to you is just having a bad day, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Just caught my wife cheating on me. I'm like, oh, fuck. One of those conversations like, shit.
Did you know?
So you just murdered her and now you're on a train to Chicago?
Kind of where my brain's going, right? So I look down and, I see his badge. And I'm like, oh, I'm PD, right? He's like, yep. Walked in our last night. Went and retired this morning. Packed a bag. I'm going to Dallas. My mom lives there. I retired. I was like, shit, He's like, so we get to shooting the shit. And the bar lady's like, closing. This dude's all, give me the rest of your beer. So I'm like, he's like, you hanging? I was like, absolutely. So, the bus tubs? She comes out with a bus tub of just rows of Budweisers. Slides it over. He's like, I'm paying. I'm not confiscating them, pays. Let's go back to my seat. So I drink with this dude till he falls asleep. Then that's where I was, drunk and courageous. I'm like, what are these doors? Anybody living in these things? So I'm like, oh, there's a bed, So I dive into bed, and 10 minutes later, I'm kicked out. And I see homeboy the next day, and he's totally hurting, And I'm like, there's still beer left underneath your seat, He's like, I'm good. I was like, all right. And 2.5 days I got here, or Austin, and it was like a day and a half in the wrong direction, drinking with a cop who just caught his wife cheating on him 20 hours before that and retired from the force. Shit, you don't forget, man.
It's wild, man.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. I had $1,000 in the bedclothes. And I said, I'm going to Austin. I had a buddy. He was like, I got a room.
To be young again.
Oh, dude, no fear. Gosh. I was like weighing my options. I was like, am I going to San Diego or am I going to Austin? And my buddy here is like, room's $295. And I was like, $295 times 4, because I was paying more than that living.
Austin prices now,
dude. He was like, he's like, no, it's $295 a month. I was like, oh fuck, I'll see you in like 3 days. Let me figure out how to get there. And that's what it was. I walked in. I said, here's 6 months rent. I'll figure it out. I got there on Tuesday. I was working on Friday. And I was like, that was when it was Austin.
Yeah.
6th Street was 6th Street. I rode a BMX to work every day. I worked at the Gas Pipe, which was a head shop. So I left New York working in a construction union, and I was a mason, so concrete brick block. Busting my fucking ass, no benefits, living check to check. I'm in Austin 3 weeks later working at a head shop with free medical benefits. I'm selling bongs, and then I'm working at the bar, and I'm making the same money, paying $295 a month to live there. I was like, I found heaven.
Yeah.
Like, and then 08 happened, and California moved in, and that was a wrap.
It really was when it happened, right? 08, yeah.
Yeah.
The crash.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was back
The
when
crash pushed people out. Yeah.
Everybody was like, I
It's
could
doing
sell
against
my
them.
house for $2 million and go to Austin, buy the same size house for $200.
or more.
Yeah, pay off my shit.
Buy a house and a lot and the fucking lot next to it just to have some elbow room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. If I would have known, like, 05, 06, I was working for Time Warner Cable. So I was setting up the houses in Kyle. When Kyle wasn't really... Kyle's frontage roads were still two-way.
Yeah.
At that
That's how it
point.
used to be out here, dude. I remember that.
So they were still two-way. And I was just doing installs on these new houses. And I'm like, 86 grand, you know? I'm like, fuck, I could probably figure out how to do that, you know? And, just mind working. If I would have known, I would have done anything I could to buy the whole street.
Oh yeah.
Because those same houses are selling for $450 right now. And I'm like, what the fuck? Hindsight's 2020. But Austin was a godsend to me because New York's a hard place to live, man. It's just, I look at my brothers and sisters every time I go back. What the fuck you guys still doing here?
Yeah.
Like, because all they're doing is complaining.
Yeah.
Fuck this, fuck that, this motherfucker. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like,
Some people like that life though.
they don't know any better.
Yeah, like
You know?
it's
It's a psychologist thing.
Did you imagine living in L.A. and just driving by all the homeless people and
No.
hoping they don't rob you that day?
dude. So I want to look at my brother and go, just drive over the bridge and then just keep going. Like, there's land. I promise you.
Yeah.
There's land.
The hardest part about being in Texas, not even the hardest part, I guess the benefit is you get to enjoy the entire country equally, right?
yeah.
New York is the same distance from Dallas as San Francisco is. So, you know what I mean? Like but if I was in New York, that would be a 3,000-mile trip or a 4,000-mile trip or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, something like
and here
that.
it's like, me and my wife talked about this a lot. She's from LA. And we talked about that. Like, should we move back there? Because I got a lot of customers, a lot of business out there, a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities I
Oh,
can go
yeah.
do that. We thought about it a lot of times, like, should we move there? And we're like, well, it's nice because we can just visit everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We get to go enjoy things as a tourist for the most
Kind of
part.
as a spectator. You
Yeah.
know, like it's different being in the game
Yeah.
than sitting on the sideline. You get to go, oh yeah, this is fun. I mean, it's a very
A lot
different
of people,
experience.
I'll say I'm from New York, and a lot of people don't hear it in me anymore. I don't. They're like, how was it? I'm like, it's a great place to visit.
Yeah.
To visit. That's
Yeah.
it. And my friends that I have lifelong friends, that live here, and they've been here for, I've been here almost 20 years. They've been here a couple years longer or a couple years shorter. We all kind of, high school buddies kind of ended up here. And they, they get it. And then they go home and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, I get there, I'm excited. I'm like, it's see everybody. And then like a half hour in, I'm like, fuck, how long are we staying again? Like, let's go get bagels and get pizza and get all the good food.
Yeah.
It's,
Bacon, egg, and cheese, get the fuck out of here.
yeah, it's like you ended up where I grew up.
Yeah.
At one time. So I guess after you left house, went and met Steve, and then went to Indian Larry, you were in Long Beach. So that's where I spent my 18 to 23 when I moved. But right before Long Beach, there's a little town with like 3 traffic lights called Island Park. That's where I grew up. We didn't even have enough kids to have a high school. So they sent us 25 minutes away to West Hempstead High
So
School.
2 miles.
yeah. Yeah, basically is what it was. And they basically took all of our kids and mushed them into this West Hempstead High School. So it was like this real, it was really odd,
Yeah.
It was just one of those. But
What were the demographics on West Hempstead? Like, was it all Italian dudes?
it was very mixed. It was Italian. It's a very popular, like, it's a Hasidic Jew area.
Okay.
It was a little bit of everything. We caught the little corner of this town called Lakeway. They had a halfway house for teenagers there. So, it was very mixed, heavily. It was, dude, I don't even know if you got time on a podcast for how I grew up because we were in high school fraternities. So I was in Alpha Sigma Phi.
Fraternities in high school?
Jeez.
So there was a Mu Gamma Delta. There was, we had 3 chapters in 3 different high schools. To summarize it politely, you could look at it as a gang, right? Parents would. They did. We were an organized fraternity. You had a hell night, you got paddled in, you were a probie, you got patched in. We had officers, we had dues. Like, we were strict, but all we did was fight. Nonstop, dude. Like, it was one of those where I was at a fork in the road of guidance in my life, and it was like, well, here's my brothers, right? Or here's everybody on the sports teams telling me I'm fucking up. You know, like, well, fucking, they're not telling me kid shit. But when I say fight every day, I was kicked out of school.
This is high school, right?
Yeah, 3 times in, I want to say by 11th grade. And then what they did is they took me and 6 of my buddies who were in my fraternity and said, we're sending you to this school in the middle of Stony Brook that you can't cut out of. There's only 47 kids there, so you won't fight. Like, okay. Like, you're sending how many of us? How many are in the school? Like, okay, they just gave us a fucking school. But
Yeah, it's something to conquer.
right? That's what we're all looking at.
It sounds like.
Oh yeah, when can we go?
Thank you, God.
And then I never forget, we get there, and it was like 5 or 6 of us, and I remember everybody go, remember they said we can't cut out of here? I was like, yeah. He's like, we're going to find a way. And it was in the middle of fucking nowhere. We cut out during a snowstorm because it was in the woods, so they couldn't see us. It took us all day to get home. Like, we got off the public bus, and our school bus drove by. We were like, well, we did it. but we did it. And then the school, because there was no gym classes, it was called PACE. There was no gym classes. We're like, so we're going to need you to play football for you to graduate. You need gym credits. And I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? Like, you just kicked me out. Like, literally have a lawsuit against you for negligence. What the fuck? I got jumped 6 times this year, like 8-on-1. We'll get you out of school early. I was like, I'm in. So they used to send a bus to pick me up from the school to take me to football practice. And after that season, I literally looked at my guidance counselor. I was like, hey, man, is there any way I could go to work all day long, play football, and then go to school? He's like, yeah. And I was like, all right. So I worked at a lobster farm. It was actually a great job, dude.
That sounds amazing.
It was a
Like, I feel
great
like I would
job,
love
dude.
that.
I was driving like the city restaurant routes by the time I was 17, and so I was like, I could work all day. It just worked better, right? I had a broken home, had bills to pay during high school, and
Sprint PCS over this bitch.
dude, it was.
Get that Nextel phone.
My mom had me 7 days after her 18th birthday. So,
Bro, I started my adulthood with 3 strikes on my credit score. Straight up. Mom, why is TXU calling me about fucking electricity bills?
Why do I have a Fingerhut account? I don't know what Fingerhut is.
So no bullshit. In the last 4 months, I want to say it was about August, September. I just got my name officially corrected because I could take my passport out and show you Tommy, my stepdad's name.
Yeah.
Take out my birth certificate and show you my dad's name. Take out my social security card and my license. And they go, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't know. Can I leave the country? Like, fuck no. So I was like, Ma, I kind of probably need to get this straightened out. And considering that I didn't do any of that shit, so she got it all straightened out, and they sent me this letter that apparently if I want to leave the country, I can now. I can at least go get a passport.
Yeah.
But growing up in New York is nuts. Like meeting Pat and Tim and all those guys and realizing they were like a stone's throw away from where I grew up.
Yeah.
It was easy to talk to them, and they go, really? I was like, yeah, I was president of this fraternity, dude. Like, it was, hospital. Dude, I got paddles in my garage. When I say paddled in, it's not like, dude, it's 70.
Put holes in it so it gets whoosh.
I have a boat oar, and hopefully none of my older brothers are watching because this boat oar is legendary. So it's the Island Park paddle and it's a boat oar. This motherfucker is deadly.
Yeah.
But
You're definitely falling over if you get hit with it, right?
no, you have someone hold you up, man.
Oh, shit.
Like someone's holding
Gotta
you up,
take
and
it all.
someone's holding the top of your belt. So,
I think the word is sadistic.
dude, it was crazy. If I could make a movie about our youth, it would be a great movie. I was at a buddy's house that actually was we were in together for like 5 years. The other day, I went by his music studio.
In high school? Oh, we still talking about the fraternity?
Yeah, so my buddy who was in the fraternity in high school has a music studio in Austin.
Oh, okay.
So I went to see him Tuesday night or something like that. And we just talk about some of that shit. And he's like, man, you know how many concussions I probably have from high school?
It's like
and he didn't play
CTE.
sports. And he didn't play sports, you know,
Yeah.
because that's just how it was, man. It was trying to get your colors off your back. You
It's
know,
like the Brad Pitt movie Rounder or Sleepers,
Dude.
but where they're all in the again, but they're all
you're
in New
going
York.
back to the butthole stuff again, aren't you?
Dude, but it's you know what I'm talking about.
I know
You know
what
the
movie you're
movie.
talking- great movie.
They go to like they steal a hot dog cart or something, and they all go to this like boys reform school, and bad shit fucking happens, and they all reunite older after they like killed dude.
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a great fucking movie.
Great
It's called
movie.
Sleepers, but
Sleepers?
that's the fact when you just said we met up. Now we're all in Austin. I'm just like, and who did y'all kill together?
Yeah, man. So you've seen The Warriors?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
You've seen The Outsiders?
dude, I watched
Yeah.
The Warriors. I swear to God,
That's how I grew up.
Within like
Yeah.
6
That
days
all
ago,
mixed
I
together.
watched The Warriors.
I'll put it on every time I see it.
It's
Watching
so
the
good,
Warriors
dude.
and then
So
going to
good.
New York is the best.
Oh, yeah.
It's like if you really want to enjoy Vegas, watch Hangover, the first
Yeah.
one, and then go to Vegas.
Yeah.
It's like because then you're like set up to do it right. You know what I mean?
New York was different, man. It was different. You know, it was it made you grow up fast. You know, we were all full-time working at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out school. We're like, dude, we're working. What do you want us to do? You got to pass this class. Huh?
Yeah, it was a weird thing because like I graduated from high school. I graduated in 01, but so many people around me didn't. When I got older, I was like, really? Like that? You couldn't figure that one out?
Mm-hmm.
The one where they give you all the answers, you just circle the right one?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a tough. I mean, I worked a full-time job too in high school. You know what I mean? And I had an apartment.
I graduated on the honor roll at a night school.
I mean, I lied. Let's be fair. I lied
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot.
That's where I was going. I'm going to tell you how I swindled the night school
Yeah.
to get my diploma. I'm at the lobster farm. I start night school. And, here's the night school principal. Whatever. Cool teacher. I did my final on the benefits of hemp. And they were like, what the fuck? I was like, am I wrong? I'm like, it
Could have
is
did
what it
on
is.
Mein Kampf. Good old fashioned.
Quite a big difference there.
A little bit.
I just thought it. I was just thinking about that movie American History X. By the way,
So I'm at Jordan's one day, and I look up, and there's the principal of night school. I'm like, oh, this is my fucking chance. Go up, hey, man, I go, cool, what are you getting? Help him out, hook him up. Go back to night school the next
Hey,
day.
did you see my paper on weed?
I went back into night school the next day and said, hey, man, I got to drive to Boston to pick up lobsters for work. So I'm not going to be able to be here for like the next 2 days. You just do whatever you got to do, son.
nice.
Cool. Shing! I was gone. But that motherfucker was there like every other Sunday, like, hey, can I get two 2-pounders and a half a pound of shrimp? I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
like
got you.
you learned how the economy works.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah. I my last year in high school, my dad went to jail, and I was living with my dad at the time. And I had a body shop. I wouldn't call it a business. He had a body shop, and I just leaned into that to the school. I said, "Hey, why can't I? My dad went to jail, and I got to run the family business." Mm-hmm. I was leaving, going to work at Kohl's, stealing shit out the back of Kohl's. Just.
One of those.
Young Henry Hill shit.
Yeah, dude. Nothing like, and I graduated, and I never took SATs or ACTs or any of that shit like
I do
that.
that shit.
I graduated based on the fact that I saw my attendance was less than 50% for my senior year, but I had such good. I wouldn't say good grades. I did good in like other areas of school to where like when this shit happened, they knew, and then
He
You got a
snitched.
favorite?
He
So I think you
snitched.
need like, and at least then, and I know I'm close to the number, but I think you need 28.
Yes, that's my dad right there. He has cocaine in his bathroom. To the
I think you need like 28 or 30 credits to graduate high school, like, and that's over the 4 years.
dude, we had to have community service to graduate high school.
You know how many
24 hours.
I had to make up in my last year? 24.
So this is what I
Like,
did.
you got 24 credits to make up. I was like, how do I get there? And they're like, well, one, play football. Fuck, okay.
So I had my chick at the time call the school as a soccer coach
Oh gosh.
for like a little league team, and they bought it. You know what I miss about being a kid? Is just being naive and not realizing that, like, when you get older, you just realize, like, that shit ain't gonna work. I'm not even gonna try that. When you're a kid, you're like, it has to work. Of course it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know the probability of things, and you just fucking lean into everything.
And you almost manifest it, you know, because you
Yeah.
believe so much.
Well, I think the other side of it is that, like, what you don't realize as a kid is that adults don't have shit figured out either.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I mean, think about it. Like, your teachers were our age.
Yeah.
And, like, they were just people, just going through life, just going through the normal
Getting
everyday
cheated
shit.
on.
And
Dealing
they're
with
going to,
crazy
oh,
ass.
my gosh, put these kids over. I'm just fucking going to do da-da-da.
They were
I mean,
showing
like,
up to work broke,
Yeah,
hungover.
yeah.
They had something come through. Fuck, I got $8 in my checking account till the next payday. Fuck, they were doing the same shit we're doing now.
Fucking Jamal acts up in class.
They were taking, and honestly, they were taking their shit out on us.
yeah.
you know, now teachers are on Tinder and doing dating apps and all.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the
Teachers
same
never
shit.
had sex with students when I was a kid, man. It's bullshit.
We didn't have hot teachers either.
OnlyFans.
We didn't have hot teachers either, though.
We did not. There was no
Oh,
hot
I
teachers back then.
remember.
I had like three throughout.
There was
my whole
one.
career,
There was one
but it's a different world.
before I was homeschooled.
Like, how old's your son?
12.
Braden's 15. We went to his guitar concert last
Yeah.
night. It's just a different generation of both teachers and
Yeah.
kids, right? It's just, and I hate to say it, but how, I don't know. I had a gym teacher that if I fucked off, he threw me across the room. Like, he was like, "Get your ass back on the fucking." I was like, "All right,
That's
mister."
national news now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, honestly.
They were like, it was normal. It was like, all right, don't fuck with Mr. Gould. You know? It was,
Oh, yeah,
you knew
no,
that shit
yeah.
right away.
Yeah, we had the
I had
same
coaches
thing.
and stuff, and I was like, dude, you're not even really over me. Like, you're
You
a
can't cuss at
you're
me.
a baseball coach just like helping out today. You just like pushed me down. Like,
Yeah.
there was
Now they're going home.
You'll be like a soccer player in the fucking World Cup.
yeah, just flop.
I forgot
Y'all see that? You see that?
No,
LeBron.
we were doing something. I got into it with a kid that started one time. It was like before a game, and dude, I was like, just moved to the school, no name, wasn't playing, and I hit this kid, and this coach like literally like fucking kind of like kicked my ass. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? This is our starting tight end. I was like, fuck that guy. Like, yeah, that was in the day where like, dude. Coaches could bully you, like fuck
Yeah.
kids bully you.
Yeah.
Coaches could
Like-
bully you, and you're like, "What are you gonna?" Like he was like, "What are you gonna do about it, pussy?" Like, go up and tell your mom. You don't even have a dad. Go home. Like, tell your mom. Have her come up here and whoop my ass.
Probably have sex
Probably,
with her.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
he's
and
probably gonna fuck your
I'll
mom.
bang her, turn into your stepdad, lower your bedtime by an hour, and fucking leave her.
And be allowed to
You're like,
beat your
God
ass.
damn it, he's got a
Oh,
point."
you've got a Game Boy?
Yeah.
Not anymore, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Just pisses in your Game Boy slot.
It's a different world, man.
Oh,
I look at Braden a lot, and I think back to when I was 15, and I'm like, oof, boy, did I get lucky.
Figured my first girl in 15.
Oh, I didn't
And
go
had
down
sex.
that.
That's why I had 15 on my bike. Everybody thinks it's a joke.
I'm with it, dude. I
Yeah.
just didn't know.
Hey, what's the 15 for? Lost my virginity at 15. Proud of that. Late bloomer to some, early bloomer to others. Depends on how you look at it. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yep, that's it's a different world, man. But now when you go into these high schools, you look around, you can't tell if they're kids or not. I'm like, is this a kid?
That's my daughter's number. That's 19. That's her soccer number for college. Yeah.
So I would disagree on identifying who's kids. my younger cousin, she's a senior right now. Her team just made it to like the state semifinals in football, like playoffs. And there was every game I would walk through the concourse going, woof. Always like I can see the ones that are like you're trying to be hot, but you're still a baby. And then there's very much, but the only difference is I feel like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20 years ago, they didn't try to do the shit that 17 and 18-year-olds are trying to do now, where it's like I'm trying to be the next.
Well, that's all
like
social
Kardashian.
media.
It's Kardashian.
They
shit.
didn't have, it's Kardashian.
Their mom. Hey,
that's where
their
that
moms. Oof, modern. Like
moms are so
the
hot,
moms
bro.
are fucking
Oh
on
my
point.
gosh.
But
Like-
dude, it's the daughters, and like there is a.
Let me ask you this, because when I was a kid, when I was 15, 20 years old, I didn't think there was anything. Women didn't look hot to me in their 40s, right? Like you just saw a chick that was 40 years old, and you're like, ugh.
They were built different. It was
Yeah.
Especially like they say the game has changed on weed. Like if you grew up in the 70s, all of a sudden, like, and if you were in jail for like the Tulsa King, you're in jail for 25 years. All of a sudden, the weed game has changed. The mom game has changed. Back in the day, moms were not hot, dude. It's
Thank
the
you,
fucking
F45.
The game has
I
changed.
guess the
now.
percentage probably.
Yeah, it's like
I
that.
still think
There's
no.
always a diamond in the rough, I would think, but right now
I think less people let go of themselves as they did when we were kids.
right, because of the exposure you get.
That's the other side of like the social media
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
is
the exposure.
The bombardment.
Back in the day, I think if you had a mom trying to get hot, it was to go up to the school to pick up the kid to impress the whatever teacher or the coach, right? Now they just sit home and take selfies and post them on TikTok or whatever it might be, and there's their reason, right? There's their justification on. Whatever.
I just want to make sure that everybody else saw it and it wasn't just like my eyes changed.
No.
No.
Well, I think there's some of that though. Like I think some
And I
of
think
that
the
happens.
definition of hot's changed over the years too, right?
Yeah.
I think that changes generationally, right? Because you look at some of the models from the 70s. You're like, all right, she's a pretty face, right? But that definition of hot then was hot, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember my uncle always had like a Farrah Fawcett picture.
I immediately like.
Right?
Yep.
Always had a Farrah
Farrah
Fawcett.
Fawcett.
I remember
That's what I
always on
thought.
his mirror, and I was like, I don't know. Even when I was younger, I was like, she's pretty.
Yeah, but
I
did you ever
guess.
see Jungle Pam?
No.
So Jungle Pam was a chick. She was famous in the drag car scene. And there's like you go any like
Jungle Pam.
Jungle Pam.
Jungle
Yeah.
Pam.
She's a hottie. James over here.
If anyone here could have seen what his eyebrows just did, like that.
When you say Jungle Pam, you think of some like exotic shit. She was a
That's that 70. That was the hot in 70s.
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah. But you know what I mean? I think our kids' definitions of hot's going to be different than ours.
Yeah.
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 But
No, but fuck that. I still stand by the sexuality is gone in both ends of the spectrum. Whereas older people, like you've extended that, you can be sexy and still be older. And fuck, man, as much as I hate it, like they've extended it the other way too, where all of a sudden, like a look you used to maybe reserve for like 22-year-olds. Now all of a sudden you see 17-year-olds rocking that for their senior pictures, and it's like, dude, you shouldn't be wearing that. Like those are like club clothes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's gone both ways. I hate
Yeah.
that, but I think that's just our culture. I appreciate it more on the older end, where I love seeing the 50-year-old chick who's still
What about, like,
I'm not giving up yet, and like
the whole like what's her name, the Cash Me Outside girl, whenever everybody was waiting for her to turn 18
yeah.
to see her fucking OnlyFans or some shit
So
like that.
that's the kind of just it does kind of make me sick. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to scoreboard on that. I've never trended towards like younger.
Yeah, I've never
But
either.
I like I said, I love the Dr. Melfi like Sopranos reference or whatever. Like the make the older lady hotter longer. I'm in that camp.
Yeah.
The younger ones, fuck them. Let them be hot.
Let 'em
when they're
learn.
like 30. Yeah. I
that's
don't
the
need
thing
it.
is the girls, the little, the children is really the best way to put it. What's scary about this
Yeah.
country is they're being exposed to all of this, and then, in most cases you have kids raising kids, and they're just letting them do it, and it was just going to accelerate that process to where now if you're saying it's 17, it's going to, 3 years it'll be 14-year-olds doing it, which is, to me it's not. I'm glad I don't have a daughter.
Well, I mean, the point that you just made, it's kids raising kids.
It's kids raising
and
kids,
then when you look at, like, culturally, there's this don't get canceled, and then there's, like, this push right now to go and just keep kind of like the ugly side of the other end of the spectrum, like you were saying, to keep accepting younger and younger. And I'm not going to, like...
In the meantime, China is over here just doing this with their
just
hands like
way
Mr.
in.
Burns. Yeah, they're just doing this with their hands like Mr. Burns.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking
Destroy yourselves.
Well, it's like
exactly.
anything, dude.
Yes.
It's, you know, we could rabbit hole this shit.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I don't even get into
Start
it.
the Patreon. We're
Yeah.
going another
And
4
Joe
hours.
Biden is a pedophile. Okay, there it is. I said it. Okay.
I was wondering how he was leaning.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just had to get enough of that red bear in him.
Yeah, this is.
There it is.
I don't know. We should end though. We've
Yeah, I would leave it at that because I swear this. You'll have to go to Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
I will unload. It's all bullshit. Hopefully, it's all over soon. Is all I can say.
well, they can catch all of us sitting in this room at Cowboy Harley this weekend.
Absolutely.
Starts off at what time?
The event's all day, so 9 to 5. The instructional, seminar speaking portion is going to be 12 to 2. The bikes will be up there. I think we're loading in some on Friday.
Yep.
There'll be giveaways from Lexin, Thunder Max, Twisted Industries is going to be there. Lyndal, Moosecraft, Cody, Melton Racing. I'm trying to think.
Dylan Wall's going to be there.
I've got the
The
flyer
wall's
pulled
gonna
up.
be there.
It's pro tips and techniques, rider meet and greet, prize giveaways, 2023 racing schedule, racing parts and fitment, beginner advice, much more. Schedules Moto America, Lyndal Brakes, Cowboy Harley Davidson, Fast Life Garage, Moosecraft. There's one I can't read.
And if you guys want to party in Austin,
Texas Track Days.
we'll be down there.
Days, Thunder Max.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and that's it's honestly it's gonna be a grassroots event as far as like there's dudes from
We're trying to
Dallas.
run back Austin the way we ran it back for Easy Riders back in the day.
Yep.
But all, dude, I would like to say all aspects of the state come the fuck like Austin's the central. You guys are the capital, and there is something about having a strong scene there because you guys are in the middle. And if there's anything that can pull people from different points of the state to come, let's do this. Let's meet up the fuck here. It's not a secret. You guys are right there on the edge of the best riding in the state.
Yep.
So let's fucking do it, man.
Come down, ride.
We've been
That's-
talking about it for years now. It's we've been talking about it for years now. We were just waiting for something to kind of galvanize that Central Texas. And dude, I'm so happy you're back.
I'm
man.
happy too, man. It's I rolled the dice on faith. I was coming home to be a dad and make sure I didn't miss those years of his life either way, and the universe gave back. So I'm extremely grateful that it all kind of fell into place, and now I got to get to work and do my thing, which I enjoy. But I'll leave on this note also. Everybody who's listening and plans on coming to King of Baggers in September, please look to the week ahead. I believe the Monday, September 4th, and look at that as considered race week in Austin. So we're going to try to do the right thing by the race community and support everybody out there that supported us. So you will see the Southern Fried Industry Party on September 8th at Cowboy Harley, followed up with the Southern Fried After Party at Come and Take It Live on Riverside. Obviously, we just knocked down the dates, details to come throughout the year. But if you want to get involved, hit me up on Instagram. It's Texas Dyna 1836. And we'll be back for another podcast, Talk Texas Hills. But that's in the works too. Hit me up on any info, vendor, or sponsorship on that Instagram for that too. And I always appreciate Jason when he gives back to the community and dragging over here for fucking making me cry every time I talk to him. So, with that, hope to see everybody Saturday.
If he doesn't pull his nuts out,
It's good to be
Cowboy
back.
Harley Davidson.
Take it easy.
What do you mean if you have to? Isn't that just a given? Doesn't that just happen?
Yeah,
like I was almost counting on it.
Well, we've graduated from nuts.
Is there like a
bike night? It was straight butthole the
He
night.
showed the starfish.
Oh, wow.
And I actually regretted that. Somebody got a picture of it, and it was like a live thing where they were like, "Oh, hey, hold your finger on the picture just to get the." And I did it. I was like, "Oh,
I knew it was
that
gonna
was me. That was me." Oh,
I knew it was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen in Milwaukee. I just didn't know when. And I literally walked out of my office like as it happened. And I was like, God, there it is.
Like,
You know what?
there was a crowd of people watching as if he was pulling titties out.
Yeah.
Hey, no, hey, I'll stand by that.
Cameras were out. It was
I stand by that. I came out of the bath, dude. One of like 9 bathroom trips that night. For whatever reason, that was the one. I walk out. All the mercenary dudes.
Dave was standing right there.
Yeah, all the mercenary dudes. Mark from Lexin, I think, was cheering and all. A bunch. I had no choice. What do you want to do?
You started.
What do you want me to do?
started a theme for the rest of the night too, which
I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
And I didn't go around and go, hey guys, I'm getting ready to pull my balls out. Like it was, I was hoping to leave that in the past. And all of a sudden I walk out and it was like, so drop your balls, or whatever the fuck it was. Like, I thought I was getting mugged at first. And next thing you know, who am I to deny the people? Yeah. There we go.
Well, hey, you put yours out, put them back in. Someone left with a whole new set on their leg that night.
There we go.
So that was
shout out to Jive Ass Honky. He drew that tattoo.
Yeah, I give it to the
my
Janesville
God.
boys, man. They're fun. They are fun. So, but thanks, guys.
Cool.